There we
And
go.
looks like we're live. All right, cool. So let's get started with some character details. Um, Alex, why don't you get us started? Tell us a little bit about your character, his name.
Okay, so his name is Rex. He's a fighter, and he is the most stereotypical fighter you can think of. So he's a big dumb bag of bricks that hits things really hard.
Excellent,
And
excellent.
that is the extent of his characterization.
Rex, the big dumb bag of bricks. Cool, cool. What does he look like? What do the others see? When they
He's
see
a tall, sort of absurdly muscled guy in armor with a giant sword that's about as tall as he is.
hmm Armored broadsword. Yep. Cool, cool. I noticed on your character sheet you added soldier as the background, if I remember right.
Yes.
So, where was Rex? Who did he fight for?
Actually, I should probably change that to it was supposed to be street tough, and I forgot to change it. So he is a street tough, or was a street tough.
A street tough. Okay, fair
Yes.
enough. And what
The
city did he get so tough on the streets of?
the city of Marek.
Marek. Okay, cool.
Mareg.
M-A-R-R. Sorry, say that again.
Mareg.
Marek. Let's see. Great.
And he was essentially a mob enforcer until he killed the wrong person and was forced to leave.
Who did he kill?
His boss.
How come?
The boss made a comment that Rex did not appreciate. And Rex, not being the smartest person around, decided he would basically just stab him.
And then you've sort of been on the lam ever since then.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
And getting paid to kill people. So I don't know if that's going to fit with your
No,
idea of an adventure.
that's fine. No, there's nothing set in stone until the characters say it, so that's all good. So we've got Rex from Mareg, a street tough, former enforcer of the city. Was that in terms of kind of policeman or noble guard or anything like that? Any particular?
No, just a a low level criminal enforcer.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Right. Like no, not bouncer. That's the wrong term. Yeah, just a general
A
thug.
thug.
Mm. Great. Okay, cool. And he's been sort of wandering ever since, basically.
Yep.
Great, great. Okay, excellent. We'll come back to that in a sec. Lovely. Bastien, you are playing. Actually, you tell us. Let us know your character's name and general description of what he looks like.
Okay, so I'm playing a Pyritist. He's a crystalline channeler. So it's kind of a roughly humanoid, big aggregates of crystals of pyrite. So it's very shiny. It looks like a bit like gold. It's very stumpy. When he walks, he makes those loud sounds on the ground. Boom. Boom, and he walks very slowly. He looks like he's not very agile. He's very clumsy. He's coming from the cave kingdom of Drolar, and this is a very deep kingdom under the earth, very deeper than even the dwarves have only recently discovered this kingdom of crystalline, and since then he is been sent onto the exterior to come back to Drolar and make a report to the king.
Right. Okay. Excellent. So, what happened when the dwarfs discovered Jolar?
Well,
Was
at
it war?
first there was a big war. Yeah, there was a big war because crystalline they had never met any humanoid and other humanoids. They were living on their own basically, and each other. And so the dwarf thought that they were kind of lost golems or that kind of thing, and so they fought, thinking that there was a big treasure behind the crystalline and in the Drola kingdom, and they were wrong. But well, there is a treasure because the crystallines they eat stones, and precious stones are like fantastic meal for them. So they keep precious stone as royal meat, and so the dwarf they fought to get to those. At a certain point, always more and more Pacific people both sides, and they began to talk to each other and trying to know each other. And then the war stopped, and a bit of trade commenced and began between the two people, and that's basically how the king of Drola asked people, different crystalline, to get out and look at the world and just to know what was there outside, if there was other surprise to be expected from the outside. And to be true, it's very disturbing.
Why is that?
And
Why is it so disturbing?
And the sun can do some strange things on an organism when you're away, and when you're like under the sun, a crystalline is like a big shiny moving crystal. And so many people thought that if we could destroy it, then we would have all those crystals for us, and we could sell them. And so many people were very aggressive at the first start. And then the sun, it was really kind of burning, like you had to get used to it. And that was also a blessing, because while the sun was oxidizing pyrites exteriors, it became less. First of all, people could see what pyrites looked like, and they could, and it was like a wonderful crystal that people would like to own, and then people that it looked kind of human and an intelligent being, and so that's it. But basically, Pyretes only speaks his own, the dwarf language, which can be a problem outside.
Right. Okay. Okay. So let me just stop you there, Bastien, and just sort of take stock. So we've got Pyrite, who's a crystal channeler. He only speaks dwarf. He was originally a kind of shiny gold rock-like figure, or mineral-like figure, who, because of his exposure to the sun, has kind of cured, kind of oxidized to a more sort of sturdy rock-like figure. And that's a good thing, because it means less people are trying to effectively take you apart, kill you, and sell you as precious gemstones.
That's it.
And there was a war between yourselves and the dwarves, which has since sort of turned to peace, turned to trade and peace. How long ago was this war, in years?
It was something like 10 to 20 years, with bits and outbursts and times of peace.
So that's interesting. So the only language you know is the language of what could be, under certain circumstances, one of your worst enemies. These people who were at war with you 10, 20 years ago. I mean, maybe it's all water under the bridge, but maybe it isn't. So that's interesting. Cool. How do you feel personally, not relevant to your race as a whole, how do you feel about the humanoids who have... actually, how do you feel about the dwarves in particular?
I'm very curious about any humanoid as a general thing, but I'm very suspicious about dwarves. I know that that their greed makes them very untrusty people, and but I'm very eager to discover any other kind of humanoids.
Okay. Okay, cool. So just a couple of quick questions then. You've mentioned earlier that a lot of the people you've met have tried to harm you, tried to sort of take you apart and turn you back into gems for them to sell off or whatever. Who have you met out of the humanoids you have met under the sun that's broken the mold? Which humanoids have you met that have been trustworthy? And how do you know this?
That the people who try to destroy me and use me as gems were mainly greenskins, goblins, orcs, and that kind of thing. Uh, uh, I began to trust some humans because some of them went to help me when I was surrounded by nasty kobolds,
Okay.
and so I was driven by those guys into a small village, and I learned to trust humans because those peasants were very peaceful, and I could use and I could help them learn, and that's how I began to trust humanoids.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And we might come back to this in a second. Feel free to wait before you answer this question before we hear from Steve. But how do the others figure into this? How do Rex and Bug fit into this? Were they at the human village perhaps, or have you encountered? When did you encounter them, and how do you know they are trustworthy as well? What have they done to earn your trust, if anything?
Well, I think they will have to earn my trust. Well, if I want to go with what Alex, and who is living in the city of Mareg, I think that maybe I went to the city to and buy in return a big market in Mareg, and that's how I went into the city, and that's how I met those guys. I don't know exactly the circumstances, but
That's fine.
well, maybe we'll find that
Agreed.
out
Yeah.
later. I don't know.
Agreed.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
but basically, I come with the peasants, and I was kind of the bodyguard of the trade caravan.
Right, I see. The peasants working outside of the city, and then they're bringing their wares in, and they needed someone to mind their crop and make sure they didn't get attacked on the road, and you were there to help
Yeah,
out.
that's
And
exactly it.
that's sort of your first taste of the city, which is,
Yeah.
along some circumstances, where we've met Rex, basically. Cool, excellent. Okay, let's get Bug into this conversation. So, Bug, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a halfling thief. I like the idea of being from Marrig, and that's where I met Rex.
That makes
I
sense.
was trained in the Thieves Guild there,
Uh-huh.
and I had a master, who I haven't decided yet, who was kind of a hard master on me, to the point of really kind of severing me from all my other relationships. Maybe some sort of he was molding me as a tool, and so I've developed this very keen sense of perfection when it comes to infiltrating. I'm trained to break into things and to steal. As a result, however, I don't really. I tend to treat people like tools. And things, and that's really, how can they help me, as opposed to having any sort of intimate connections with them. And I feel like probably met Rex. We probably were in the same social circles to a certain extent, being that he was a street enforcer, and I was working for the Thieves Guild. And it's probably where we at least met initially, maybe even on the same job. Yeah, I think that's probably so. He's I mean, my sheet says his criminal eyes, cropped hair, dark clothes, light body, great for trying to sneak into places. But he's certainly a criminal, or has been molded and trained in that fashion.
Cool.
I don't think Bug was his original name. I think that was given to him by his master in order to, again, further distance him from, making relationships with other people.
To dehumanize him a bit, deharvelize him a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, excellent. A couple of questions to crack on with that. So,
okay.
Your former master. Do we know the name of your former master, by the way?
I hadn't chosen one. I think I might leave it up to you in that sense. I think that'd be a nice surprise.
Sure. Okay, so as far as your hereto unnamed taskmaster is concerned, then you say he was molding you as a tool to do something. Yeah. Do you know what?
I think I think he saw something in me to become the best. So he, brought me under his wing and started training me. We could say that there was some primary thing he was leading up to, but however, I fell in with Rex and we had to escape Merrig and probably now leave my master, which maybe is kind of, upset that he invested all this time in me and I disappeared.
So it sounds like it's not so much he was grooming you to do a task, he was kind of grooming you to be maybe even a successor or a prized lieutenant, someone he could sort of count. Well, I don't want to say trust because it is the Thieves Guild, but someone that he could count on to get the job done. And then then it sounds like you met Rex, maybe around the same time Rex, killed his former boss.
I think it probably makes more sense if our acquaintance has gone back a bit longer than that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, Rex was criminal muscle, so as was pointed out, I'm sure that Rex and Bug were in the same social circles. So maybe we've known each other for a while. And maybe Rex was stupid enough to follow a suggestion that Bug made about killing someone, as opposed to specifically, killing him out of spite.
Right. Okay.
I'm not sure. Well, I mean, I don't think Bug would really. He's not much into the assassination type thing.
So yes, but so Rex isn't really the kind of person who can tell the difference.
Right.
When Bug says, Rex, could you please deal with this? Rex understands. Shove 6 feet of metal into them, and it will be dealt with.
Yeah, and certainly Bug would treat you that way. I think again because you are in some ways the extension of the sword that he needs.
Yes. So I think that works. I think Rex was kind of like Bug's right-hand man, sort of, or at least has worked for Bug or with Bug before and trusts Bug, and maybe even was hired by Bug,
or my employer, or my master. Who, I mean, even possibly my master may have been playing some sort of long game with me that I was going to be the fall guy. And may not have direct bearing, but now he has to take, again, train and gain the trust and everything. Sure. And I'm gone now. We're no longer there. But yeah, I like that idea of being the brain and the brawn.
Yeah, that works for me.
Early, yeah.
Okay. So that sort of answers one of my next questions, which is sort of Bug. What do you use Rex for? And it's sort of, I guess the answer is what he's good at, which is being a blade. Yeah, killing.
That I don't want to do myself.
Sure. So your relationship with Rex is something like you don't have to keep you keep Rex around so you don't have to keep your hands dirty, or is that too much of a?
I don't. I think given his size, and I don't think he really enjoys doing that kind of stuff. Sure. I think he's happier cracking a lock, setting a trap, and in that case, he probably sends Rex to go as a lookout and stay. I've got work to do here.
By contrast, Rex absolutely loves stabbing things or cutting them to bits.
You hear someone says Rex, keep an eye out. You hear Rex, keep your sword out, and
Rex, kill anyone who comes close.
Okay, excellent.
Because they can't raise the alarm if they're dead.
Yeah.
This is
See,
very
Rex,
true.
Rex is cunning.
Yeah, he's got.
So let's bring Pyrite into the mix then. So how do you guys think, and Bastien, do feel free to jump in. How does Pyrite come into this mix? So up until this point, Pyrite was following his crew of these peasants who barked at him, who was sort of following him along. Rather, the peasants were his little crew, and they've used him for help. So, Bastien, what do you think? How might these peasants have got waylaid, and you might have fallen in with a master spy in training and a blade for hire, basically, to put it bluntly?
Well, maybe the peasants I was with were kind of robbed by a lower thieves guild, and so I had to make a show of force. And maybe Rex was around, and he saw me and he said, "Oh, that guy kind of rocks," and
No
maybe
pun
he talked
intended.
about it to. Well, pun intended, yeah. And maybe he talked to Bug about it, and then they just come out and seek out, and after looking what I was capable of, because
Hmm.
I was quite strong, but very I was a tough guy,
Mm.
and well, it's a big chunk of work, a working big chunk of work. That's something very new to them, and maybe that
Yeah,
their
sure.
attention
Like
in some way or
maybe
the
the
other.
friendly rivalry between the two.
Could be.
Between Pirates and Rex?
I bet
Yeah.
I don't think Rex understands the concept of rivalry.
You mean he thinks he's just the best at best
Yes.
there is?
Yeah, he would have to think that other people are on his level.
Mm.
You can take your fancy magic and your channeling and whatever, it doesn't really matter. Rex has 6 foot of steel, and that's what he needs, and the only thing that's good enough to do the job.
Okay.
So that's fair enough. I mean, rivalries or perceived rivalries could still be one way only. So, Pyrite, you may well see Rex as you might see Rex as a rival. You might not. Rex certainly doesn't. And I mean that might be a good point for a bond right there. If anyone wants to write a bond down, it's this idea of, well, if Pyrite sees Rex as either a powerful ally or a rival or maybe an example of humanhood. You are human, aren't you, Rex?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a few things going on there. There's this idea that Rex might be the sort of example of humanhood that's worth following around for a while, or good luck to you in that case. Or it could just be that you've seen an opportunity here by falling in with Rex and Bug, and feel inclined to follow it through. I mean, the most obvious thing that comes to mind, I think, in all of this is what happened to the peasants. So there was a problem with the Thieves Guild. Pyrite fought them off, but after that point, it seems that the peasants weren't around anymore. So,
Did they just run away?
well, that's an excellent question for Pyrite, I think. Pyrite, what do you think? What happened to the peasants after the Thieves
I
Guild?
think that unfortunately during the fight there was a dead peasant, and so the peasants decided to get back to their village as soon as they could. So they sold out everything they could and bought the few things they really needed before they get back to the village. And Pyrite is around because he's curious and he has this report to do to his king. And so he said, okay, there was a good time. We spent some good time together. I learned a lot of things from you, and now I'm in a different environment and I've got other things to learn here. And there's this big soldier, this big thug I have to impress with my power, because he only believes in steel, and I will show you that there are other forces around than steel.
Right, that sounds
Yeah.
like a perfect bond to me. You'll show you. I will
That's
show.
the perfect one, and that's one of my challenge sheet, so it's
Right.
perfect.
Excellent. So there we go. There's one bond right there. You'll show Rex that steel is not the only force out there, or something to that effect. Good.
For my part, I've decided to put two bonds down. I've sworn to protect Bug, which I think makes sense.
Is that right? Yep.
That's why we stick together, and then maybe Bug owes me his life, whether he admits it or not. I don't know if Bug admits that he owes me his life.
Bug.
Well, I put down Rex has my back when things go wrong.
Okay, so that makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, good. So I was just taking a quick look at Pyrite's profile there. Thanks for that, Bastien. Good. So, Bug, any other thoughts on bonds for yourself? So just as a quick reminder, you can write as many bonds as you like up to the number kind of listed on your sheet. I'm not going to hold you to the specific bonds on your profile. If you want to write something or tweak it or write something more relevant, you totally can. Minimum of 1 per character is good, but again, I'm not going to hold you to it. So, any other thoughts on that?
No, I updated my sheet on here. So.
Cool.
All right.
All right. So we've got Pyrite kind of or maybe not Pyrite himself. I suppose it would make sense, actually. You know, again, Pyrite's made of gems. If he's going to become the target of anyone in the city, it could well be the Thieves Guild, a rival wing or a lesser wing, as you said earlier, Bastien. So you sort of, maybe it was you personally who ran afoul of the Thieves Guild, and then the peasants fought, and then you managed to fight off those by the sounds of things with the help of Rex and Bug, who were in the right place at the right time. But the fallout from that, it sounds like, was that the peasants thought, well, we don't really need this target running around with us. We're going to cut our losses. So by the time the dust had settled, Pyrite, and you looked around, the peasants were all but gone, and you were left on your own in this city. But you weren't too fussed by the sounds of things. You've got a whole city to explore, and it's your kind of command to explore it. Is that something you took on willingly, by the way, when the king of your people said to you, of course?
Oh yes, it's something I took on willingly, because I'm very cautious but curious things, and well, as a matter of thing, I'm one of the in now, which is not much to say. But
I didn't quite hear all of that, Bastien. Indeed, I didn't hear much of it. But I think you mentioned it was an honor for you. Is that right? And you were very curious about the outside world.
it was a honor. Yeah, that's it.
Great. Okay, excellent. So let's see. Don't have to worry about rolling too much just yet, but I do want to jump in and just think, where are we at now? I think, although as interesting as the city is, it seems like there's a bit of a vested interest. It sounds like there's some kind of escape plan that's also going on. The storyline seems to be the kind of the prelude. Seems to be that Rex killed his employer. Bug decided now is a good time to split. In the middle of that, Pyrite also found himself kind of lost and wanting to see more of the world, perhaps. Now, did you guys want to stay? You know, and now you're sort of there as a group, and I guess you're, for better or worse, you're there as a group. When did all this happen? When did the Pyrite encounter kind of happen?
I'd say probably for convenience's sake, some time ago, when we've been traveling together for a while.
Sure.
Because that lets us be anywhere we need to be.
Yeah, sure. It seems to me like you might have stayed in Mareg for a while.
I think we were pretty intent on skipping town after the whole I murdered
Sure.
someone that I shouldn't have murdered.
Does that sound about right to you guys?
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, no
I think
problem.
Bug
Yeah.
smart enough to realize we need to bug out.
Yeah. So, and maybe you made a point of saying that as many times as possible. Like,
Yeah.
guys, it's time to bug out. Yeah, we know. You told us like 3 times
He
already.
thinks he's clever like that sometimes.
Yeah.
He never knows if it's really a joke, like people laugh or not, because he just doesn't have that capacity.
Well, you are the brains of this outfit, so no one else is going to question you just yet.
That's true.
Okay, cool.
I'll just
So,
have Rex kill him.
why aren't you laughing?
Rex stab.
All right. So, after bugging out, I think that is an excellent opportunity for you guys to have made a perilous journey.
Really?
Yeah.
Gee.
Already.
Oh.
This isn't going to be something, I'm not going to be too harsh in terms of rations and whatnot, but I think I do want to see what sort of state you were in when you got to, well, wherever it is you got to. So I would like you guys to make that perilous journey. So the rule is that Joe finds his list of rules first, so we can
Yeah, I'm
say it
looking
out
at
loud.
Ew.
Here we go. Right. Perilous journey. Perilous journey. When you travel through hostile territory, I'm essentially saying here, actually, to be fair, I'm making an implicit thing we haven't set in stone yet. Is the area outside of the city hostile?
Yep, that probably is.
Cool.
Or at least,
perilous journey.
or at least we're traveling a far enough distance away from the city that it counts as a perilous journey. I think.
Yeah, actually, that makes sense.
Also without supplies.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Well, maybe there's an element there of, and I know I'm glossing over in terms of coin and whatnot, but it's, I don't know about you guys, it's not something I'm going to penny pinch for. But I guess this is element of you left town, you followed the main road, the roads that,
Yes.
the sort of roads that Bastien you'd have walked in on from these various frontier towns and farmhouses and whatnot.
We wouldn't.
Okay.
We wouldn't take those roads. I think.
Okay.
If they are looking for us, that's where they look for us first.
Okay.
I think I think Bug would probably
So
try to take something a little less obvious.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going into the ride then.
Yes.
I think, and I mean, or if there was a way to get out of the city through a sewer,
Could be.
or
see
maybe
what-
on a boat, like stowaway on a boat. I think that he'd try to get out something that's less obvious.
boat?
So the,
Well,
Yeah.
hold on, guys. So, first things first, Bug. If anyone's going to know, you would know. So, from your character's perspective, and if you want to know a little bit more and get a bit more of an impetus from me, you can make a move and spout lore, if you like, about the city, because you know the city. You're the master infiltrator, right? So you would know the best ways in or out. So,
Okay.
what I recommend is why don't you go ahead and spout lore, and the lore is sort of the ins and outs of this city that you've kind of grown up and trained in.
Okay, so
Best ways to get the hell out of it.
it's roll plus
intelligence.
So that is rolling 2d6 and adding your intelligence.
Which is 2. Well, my modifier is 2. So, okay, sorry. Oh, yeah. So
That's
13.
it.
You based it. So that means that having pondered the best way out of town, you've discovered something or remembered something interesting and useful. So something interesting and useful about the city. You were mulling it over earlier when you were saying, well, maybe the sewers, maybe the boats. I would say that the sewers are doable, but they aren't the most pleasant way of getting out of town. You know, they're slimy, they're messy. There's still the chance of guards or rats or worse lurking in the tunnels. It's a risk. It's doable, but it's a risk. The lesser risk of the two would be the boats, because the boats, although they are guarded, do let you kind of go incognito, and there's enough traffic that goes through the boats. Let's say there's a canal system that goes in and out of the city, and you know that although they are fairly heavily regulated, the guards can't follow every single boat.
Yeah.
And let's say that because you're learning, and that's something interesting. So let's say that to add the useful part of that, you know a guy, you know a boat master, a passing merchant, say, who is known to the Thieves Guild. And let's find my list of names so that we can give him a name of some kind. But suffice to say that this boatmaster is going out of town, like on the day you need him.
If we have to
Sorry,
go
Bastien,
on a
say again.
boat, I said good. Don't forget that I can hardly swim.
Well, if the boat doesn't sink, that isn't a problem.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to be able to them, I think.
Say again, Bastien.
I said that pirates, we have to choose the boat wisely.
There we go. What do you
Okay.
think, guys?
What about how about like no? I guess airships would be the same thing.
Well,
Are there
there's a
airships?
risk of thinking.
Are airships a thing in this
I think
world?
I think it'd be cool if it would.
Yeah.
This would be even more troublesome.
I would suggest, as far as your consideration on the topic's concerned, Bug, you've decided. You haven't decided this is definitely the route you'll take because this is what's happening now. You're talking through with the others, but
Right.
as far as the role is concerned,
Yeah.
and as far as taking the benefit is concerned, you've worked out that the least of all evils, whether airship, boat, sewers, walking out the front gates, whatever,
It's the boat.
going out by the canals is the safest way
Barge.
as far as not alerting suspicion is concerned. There's still risk because hey, you've got to get out of town and you've got a bloodthirsty murderer and a guy made out of solid gold with you. But it's going to be the most easiest way. Now, obviously you've got to convince Pyrite of that first, by the sounds of things.
Well, what if we find? What if I can convince? So I turned to Pyrite and I said, "Oh, okay, hold on. I know you're a little worried there. You know, rock sinks. Well, does Pyrite even breathe? Bastien?
That's a good question.
Well, kind of. The fact is that as a mineral, if it gets, it will. Well, pyrite is iron made, and so it will oxidize, and it will get too much into water, and so I don't much like water.
So
Well-
did I hear that right? You'll rust if you hit the water and spend, too much time in the water.
That's it.
Or did I mishear that? Right.
Well, certainly, I think there's
Pyrite
probably
is
some trait of.
around.
I was just gonna say, there must be some trait of like ore or something heavy that barges travel in, so we can find something that trades in heavier objects that will be equipped to handle pyrite. It might even be easy to sneak pyrite in as some of the ore or gold or whatever, because he's probably, traveling with him is going to be difficult to do. So we're going to probably have to disguise him as plain metal or gold or tarnished whatever. At least until we get away from the city, and then we can kind of take him off. What do you think about
yes.
that, Pyrite?
Definitely, I can lay very still and look very much like iron ore. So there's no problem for that. And if you want me to turn the bright shiny thing again, I can. I've got this. I've got this power to heal myself if I want to, so there's no problem about that. I can get a shiny as gold again, or I can just look like iron ore. I think that in the form of iron ore, that if I turn into a shiny goldy thing.
You said you wanted to wait, you said you wanted to be shiny, or you didn't want to be shiny?
Oh no, I don't want to be shiny. I think it will be trouble.
Okay.
You want to look
yeah.
like what you're saying is that it's fairly straightforward for you to take the disguise of a pile of dull ore, iron ore, and be hidden in a crate or whatever. as far as being smuggled out of the city
Yeah.
is concerned.
Yes.
And that is what you prefer to do in terms of getting out of town.
Yeah.
All right.
And so the guy that I know is he, or I guess since it's useful and relevant, is he an ore merchant?
You know what? I'd say he's a little bit of everything because he's, let's say that he's a general merchant, right?
He's a smuggler.
He's a smuggler, exactly. Some days it's fish, some days it's lumber, some days, sure, it's a little bit of ore. Why not? So long as he gets his cut, he doesn't mind. And he's used to getting his cut because this is a thieves guild contact, you know, and it's a rat, but it's a trusted rat. Now,
So obviously the whole paying him to get out of town and to take us on and take pirates with us, that's all that's wiped out our savings basically.
yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep.
So let's see how that trip went then. And unless there's anything else you want, I'm happy to kind of fast forward to the trip itself.
Let's fast forward.
Pyrite kind of boxed up, the rest of you kind of acting nonchalant on this trader's merchant little canal boat, and kind of passing through the city gates effectively, something like that. How does that sound?
Yeah, that's fine.
Fine.
Yeah, fine.
Shall we roll our perilous journey then?
Well, I think actually we've sort of moved a bit beyond that because the perilous journey was me thinking of you just pretty much walking out the city gates.
Fair enough.
So this is way more interesting. Steve, take notice in terms of perilous journey moves and how relevant they can or can't be.
I've already fiction.
So a perilous journey also seems unfair given one of you's in a box and therefore isn't really going to be counting out rations or scouting out the enemy anytime soon.
Right,
So
exactly.
there you are. So you're kind of passing through kind of the sluice gates, if you like, for the canal system that takes you out of town. So you've got kind of the hustle and bustle of the cities kind of passing by. And every now and again, you're seeing these kind of wide bridges going across with little kind of spires on top of them, which is the guard towers, as you all well know. And these guard towers keep the town, the equivalent of the gold cloaks for whoever's seen Game of Thrones. They're basically the city watch. Basically use these guard towers to keep an eye out on things. And Bug, you probably know this, that normally they're okay. Sometimes a bribe's in order, sometimes not. But it's the middle of the day. There's plenty of stuff going through, and this is the safest option. So you value your chances.
Mm-hmm.
You're passing through. Everything's going fine. You go. There's like 3 of them you've got to go through before you're kind of in the clear and you're out sort of the sluice gates. The first one, the kind of the what are they called? The not dredges. What's it called when you've got the large gates which kind of control the level of water? It's completely gone from my mind. The lock. That's what I'm thinking of.
The lock.
You're going through like a series of locks, which is also kind of like the guard system. So you're keeping an eye out, Bug, because you can keep a fairly low profile. Rex, what are you doing at the moment? It's a very simple canal boat. There is kind of the foredeck and there is kind of the space below where all the storage is, and not a lot else between.
Rex doesn't really care. As far as he's concerned, he hasn't done anything bad. So he's just pretty much sitting in the open on the deck, wherever he's allowed to sit, and cleaning his sword.
Cool. So you're just openly cleaning your sword, enjoying the sun. Maybe even waving at the guards as you go by or something like that. Depends how.
Yeah.
Don't really put words in your
I'm quite
mouth.
to that level, but Rex doesn't give a shit, basically, is what I'm saying.
Cool. Okay, excellent. So you're just there, cleaning sword, not really giving a care about what's going on around you, but, fighter's eye, so it's not as if you're completely oblivious. And you've gone through some of the gates, you've kept half an eye on kind of the other boats going past and the guards as they've gone past. Bug, what about you? Are you kind of out on the top, or are you with the merchants at the back with the tiller, or are you in the cargo hold where Pyrite is right now?
I think I'm going to be out front, trying to, like I say, keep a low profile, looking around for danger. I'm just not good with people in general, so I wouldn't be chatting with the merchant.
Sure.
And I don't really have that much of a bond with Pyrite, so I would definitely be looking around.
Sure. Okay. You nervous?
Yeah. Yeah, I know just how dangerous my master could be and his connections to underworlds. So until we're open water or away from sea, I think I'm very nervous.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead, since you're keeping a good open eye on these things and you're, nervous enough to be taking care of things, why don't you go ahead and roll discern realities for me?
Right.
What I tend to do as far as discern realities is concerned is I'm basically just going to carry on talking, carry on describing the situation as you guys see it. Depending on the amount of hold you get, how well you roll, Steve, you feel free to just say, Joe, stop, jump in, I want to ask a question. And
Okay.
you just jump in and say the question, and I'll just elaborate and then carry on. Go from there. So let's see how you do. Roll plus whiz.
Okay, my wisdom is modifier 0, so that is a partial success.
Partial
so I get
success. You do indeed. You got the questions to hand?
Yeah, what happened here recently? What is about to happen? Blah blah blah.
You got it. Excellent. Great. Okay, so you're there keeping a good strong eye out. Bastien, you're there. Sorry, Pyrite rather. You're in a box. It's a lovely box, very spacious, but it is a box. And Rex, you're there, kind of pretty close to where Bug is, on the front there. And I think the only other person on it's not a big boat, it's just a very simple hauler, and the merchant's on the back on the tiller, just directing it basically. You go through the first gate, the first sort of the lock, first sluice gate. Guard just waves you on. It's fine. He barely takes a look at you. He recognizes the merchant by name. He doesn't think twice about you guys. You're going through the second gate. Again, you've got to wait ages because the water has to go all the way from up to down. The water level has to balance out. So it's quite a long, laborious process. And Bug, you're there, holding the edge like that, I guess, since you're only a little one.
I'm going to interrupt. I think, given what I know about my master, if he's involved or not, I guess what I would probably ask as one of my hold is what should I be looking out for here?
Right.
In terms of
your former boss and pursuit. Right. So that is an excellent question. What's when people have left the Thieves Guild before? How have they normally done reprisals? Has it been a bloody thing to as an example to others, or has it been a swift knife that you have?
I believe they have their. I mean, I think many Thieves Guilds have a separate, or they have ties to an assassin guild. Something's put out, and I think that probably when the deed is done, some sign is left. That the underworld knows, not the general public, so it's not going to be messy. It's going to be done quietly, but everybody knows such and such left the Thieves Guild, and it didn't end very well.
Okay.
And I know it's a little cliche, but I think the assassin should have something with red in it. I don't know.
I was going to say a rose. That's really weird. I was going to say, like, the really...
It's
a cliche, but it's fun.
So how about the red roses are the Assassins Guild in the city. Yep.
They're like to the common folk they're known as the florists or something completely normal and humble and boring, but actually the florists are all like trained assassins, and if the red roses left,
that could be their day job.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Interestingly enough, a lot of plants have poisons.
This is also true, yeah.
So let's just say they're the Florist Guild / Assassins Guild in this city, Marek.
So you're on the eye for any kind of sign of a florist, a flower girl on the corner, or a particularly nice bouquet, or the guards with whatever. So that's so. And the original question being, what should you be on the lookout for? We've established any kind of flowers, almost. Your
foliage.
Yeah, yeah. Anything beyond grass, anything beyond a bit of withered grass, and you're going to be on eyes on it like a hawk.
Yes.
So that's what you're on the lookout for. You go through the first gate, nothing of that to be found. You notice a cow eating some grass on the side, but you think nothing of it. It's fine. That's only grass. Right. Go through the second gate of 3, and it's taking forever, and the sluice gates are sort of going, and slowly your whole boat is being kind of lowered down to kind of the regular water level. And just as you're kind of going over the lip of the lock gate, so you're going down and sort of down to kind of about best part of 10 feet below where you were before, because as the water's sort of draining out to get down to lower level. Just as you're going over the eye line, you're keeping an eye out at those bridges I mentioned earlier, the ones which kind of pass over these locks, the ones which the guards sit on. And you think, but you're not sure, you think you notice a bouquet of sorts. Like that last, it's not this gate, but the last gate, the third gate, you think you see a splash of colour, like a splash of red, just on the edge of it. You're looking around, you see. Yeah. Go on, sorry.
Where's Rex?
Rex is pretty much right next to you, I think, unless he's.
Well, I'm at the other end of the boat, but yeah, I'm on the deck. So.
Okay.
So what do you do?
I think at this point, if it was only a flash of color, I think I would just stare in that direction and keep my eyes and ears open. It's not worth bringing. I mean, I don't want to cause or bring any attention to us. We're trying to stay low profile on this boat, so I think until the last moment, I think I'm just going to keep my eyes open on that splash of color.
Okay, cool. So here's what happens: the sluice gates stop. They get down to the right level. The water kind of drains. And the lock gates finally open, so you get a good look at, and obviously your eyes are right up there. Your eyes are looking exactly where you expect to see a splash of colour as the boat is slowly pushed forward. You haven't said anything specifically as yet, so everything kind of carries on as per. And what you see is the guard gate as normal, and it's got like a token effort kind of beautifying the city, which normally people don't pay much attention to. There's a couple of like hanging spaces for hanging baskets and the like. And someone has actually filled one of these hanging baskets for like the first time ever. And most people, if they didn't know that the florists were who they were, would think nothing of it. They just think, oh, well, a guard's feeling like had a particularly fancied a splash of colour today. But you're thinking, don't know about that.
That's not normal.
No, the boat is moving ahead closer and closer. You're getting to that third gate, and you see the two guardsmen on that bridge. They go out either side of the bridge. They go out in either direction and start heading down the stairs to basically head you off at the pass, it would seem. So they're coming down. The boat is making its way towards this third lock gate. If you do nothing, then the merchant will probably stop and say, "What seems to be the matter, officers?" And then we'll see what happens from there.
So So the gate locked, and you're saying that from there's these hanging flowers that aren't normally there, and you're saying the guards are coming around and walking down.
So I'll do a quick scribble of it. Your vision of it, if you like, is you've got kind of a. I should do it in the sketch pad, but it'll take too long. I'll just do a picture of it here. Very, very briefly. I've got squared paper here. That's what it's there for. There we go. And you've got the kind of the lock gates. Something like this extremely technical diagram will obviously show what I mean. So you have a guardhouse above each of these lock gates. That's kind of the security measure. And this thing is there's like a hanging basket. There's there and there. And this one's got a load of. So that's what's giving you. I can't even see it for myself. There we go. Yeah. So that's what's giving you cause for alarm.
Yes. And
then the two guards have kind of headed out of either side, as they would do. There's nothing unusual about that per se. To anyone else who's looking, this would look like a routine inspection, but you're unsure as to whether it be a routine inspection or not. And those are the two lock gates. So those would open up and let you kind of down. So once those open up and let you through, the water will be drained down. So you go down another 10 feet, and then that would be the final way. After you're through those gates and the water's drained down, you're pretty much free of the city. But you've got a good sort of 10-15 minutes minimum before the water's suitably drained. Or you get out and make a break for it or something. Anyway, so you're coming up to there. You're not quite at there yet, but the merchant's seen these two guardsmen are coming out, and he sort of rolls his eyes and is like, oh, and he sort of turns the rudder aside just to kind of slow it down to a stop. With a kind of practiced ease, he's used to bribing a guard before. He hasn't spotted the flowers, or if he has, he's made no particular move or panic to do anything about it.
Brex is going to discreetly put his cleaning kit aside. just out of the way.
Absolutely. So you're there, just sword out, cleaning kit aside,
Yep.
keeping an eye on things as they go on. Cool.
Mm.
Bug, they come up to you. The closest one, there's ones on kind of left that the lock kind of narrows in such a way that the boat kind of is knocked to one side. Actually, let's say that your boat is kind of the tiller kind of drifts the boat to the right hand side, like the nearest guard kind of waves you down and says, come in, you know, so it makes a motion for you to park up for a routine inspection.
Okay. I mean, the merchant, I guess, is going to be coming over to, like you said, to question the guards, see if there's anything wrong, or is he already...
The merchant's going to stay on the tiller. At the moment, you're the one in the front of the boat.
Okay.
The merchant stayed in the back because he's kind of got his hand on the tiller. He doesn't want to put the anchor down or anything. He wants to be off and out. And his thinking is, well, I'm going to wait. His thinking, you would guess, is that, I'm going to wait for the guard to come onto the boat, because that's the easiest way to get this guy out of here, right? So he's not going to stop the guard getting on the boat because he doesn't want to show any sign of obstruction.
Right.
You,
Well,
however, are in a way. You're in his way, so you
I'm
can.
getting out of the way. I'm going to give him wide berth. I don't think that... Again, I'm kind of jumpy, so I'm going to make sure I'm out of range of any sort of easily concealed dagger that may jab into me.
Sure.
Yeah, so I'll just definitely go, what are the ranges? So it's hand, close, near, far, is that correct?
Yeah, well, he's gonna pass within close range of you, no problem, because it's not a big boat. But you're gonna kind of get to the utmost. You're gonna you make as much distance from him as possible.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I'm just gonna give him. I'm not gonna stand in his way, but certainly keep an eye on him.
Sure.
So you're saying there was guards coming down the other side, but we pulled off to the right side. So
That's
the guards.
right. So the other guard is on the left right now. And we'll leave him on the left for the moment. I just want to kind of move on to the next step.
Yeah, sure.
Bastien, it does indeed look a little bit weird. Bastien, let's come back to you, because as this guard comes onto the boat, what happens is Bug effectively gets out of his way. The guard comes onto the boat, doesn't even look at Bug. He just strides on. These guys aren't like super tough guards. They are, it's boat patrol. It's more than a job's worth, really. So he's there. He's in kind of decent enough leathers, but they're slightly out of shape and they're pretty heavily worn. He's got a short sword by his side, and he's got kind of a decent kind of cap on, a decent iron cap, and a little bit of plate armor, but otherwise looks like a fairly regular human. As from what you can tell, the other guard on the other side of the shore is much the same. So this guard strides on, he swaggers on even, strides in happy as you like, strides past Bug, doesn't give you a second glance, Bug, and strides down, because he's got to go down, unless he jumps over the boat in a weird fashion, he'd have to go through the kind of cargo interior to get to the tiller at the end. Now, just to clarify, Rex, where are you? If you've got the...
So if I'm assuming that the tiller is on a sort of raised platform above the rest of the deck.
Yeah.
So I'm sat in the shadow of the raised platform that it's on by basically what would be a door to the captain's cabin on a normal ship. So presumably also has a cabin on this.
To be honest, I don't know if there'd be much of a cabin.
It's a door that goes to the hold then.
Yeah. There's
you know what I mean. Like if you picture your ship of the line and where there would normally be a door to the captain's cabins, that's where I am on this.
Yeah, I mean it's very much just like a canal boat, really. If you check the, I'm only doing squares for the sake of ease. Alex is going to start looking familiar because you're once again trapped on a small piece of transportation, a la good old Keller's guns. But yeah, broadly speaking, you've got the tiller at the back. And the kind of the front, the poop deck on the front, I guess.
I'm near the tiller essentially.
Yeah. So you're
like
sort of there.
Guards will probably have to walk past me to get to the tiller.
Yeah, because you're sort of. I'm seeing you as being kind of here.
Where are you drawing this? Is this in the shared thing? Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's more or less it.
Apologies to anyone watching this after the fact. I have no idea if this is going to show up on the YouTube feed or not, but we're using Google Drive and doing a shared sketchpad. I can always post.
I'm drawing rectangles.
I'm drawing a load of rectangles. You're not missing a whole lot. It's even better than the drawing I just scribbled, so yay.
Yeah.
So yes, Rex, you're about there. Bug, Bug, you are about like here, because you're not off the boat, obviously, but you're like as far away as possible from where he came in, which was on this right-hand side. And the merchant is here.
Yep.
There is a entirely inconspicuous box among other odds and sods. There's an entirely
Probably
inconspicuous
in the middle of
box
the
full of
deck.
iron ore in the middle of that cargo hold. Yeah. So this place where you are right now, Rex, that's actually covered over, and you kind of go back up and outside to get to the tiller. And the guys kind of passed through. So actually, you know what? The guard is pretty much next to you right now, Rex.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and that's where you're at. And
Is he looking at me funny?
No, he's
Okay.
not. He gives you a glance because, hey, you're there and you've got your sword
Yeah,
out. It's
7
kinda
foot
weird.
tall, 6 foot stored, but yeah.
Yeah, but so he sort of looks at you. I'll tell you what, he does a little double take, but he doesn't approach you directly. He
Okay.
approaches the merchant.
He's just minding his own business, so there's no real need for me to stab him.
Yeah, you're there just kind of, I guess, kind of just watching the altercation. And
And obviously, this is going to score points with Bug because I'm showing restraint, which is apparently important in this line of work.
Bug, you could also see this incidentally because there's like the front and the back are sort of raised platforms, so you would be able to see him as he came back up and sort of made eye contact with Rex briefly and then started talking to the merchant.
Can Rex see me?
Yeah,
Yes,
I'd imagine
yeah.
so. If you wanted to be
Yes.
seen, Rex could certainly see you. You could grab his attention.
I'm looking in Bug's direction anyway, so.
Okay.
Do you
So
feel like we've developed some sort of hand signal
Sure.
type of? All right, so I'm
Absolutely.
I'm making bird calls. No,
Caw,
Yeah.
kill him, caw. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just signaling, be on ready, and the sign for danger.
Okay.
Okay. So the two of them are starting their general exchange of merchant saying, "What seems to be the problem here, officer?" The merchant saying, "License and registration, please," etc., etc. We'll come back to that in a second. Bastien.
Yeah.
Rather, Pyrite, I should say. Okay, so you are in a box. This is an interesting challenge to roleplay, I've got to say. Here you are, you're in a box. I would say, how are you feeling right now, actually? First of all, you've been you didn't really want to come by water, and then these two humanoids are like this beardless dwarf and this other human are like, no, it's fine. We'll put you in a box and pretend you're ore. How are you feeling about that now?
Well, I'm feeling about itchy because it moved a bit, and there are those rats around me, and when they climb on me, they are. It's itchy, and second is that I can't see a thing of the world outside.
Absolutely.
I'm missing so much. And so, I've tried as much as I could to displace and to open a bit the box, two wooden planes of the box, to open them a bit and have a window on the outside. And I've just seen this guard walking along, but I couldn't even tell he was a guard. I've just seen a pair of legs.
You saw like
And,
a shape, a shadow cross by because you just kind of
Yeah.
maybe you see it through like the air holes or something. Okay, so you've got rats crawling all over you from this filthy merchant. And
a few rats.
Sawdust everywhere, and you're all cramped up because you're basically doing yoga in here. You got to kind of stay bunched up in case anyone comes in and takes a look. All right, and you're really kind of straining to not kind of push too heavily at the old at the crate and open up basically. You hear?
Because I can't move a bit, because if I move too much, I will capsize the boat. If I
This is
move
true.
too much.
Yeah,
No,
no,
I don't think there's much of a risk of that. It's like a very flat, low to the water boat that's designed to carry heavy cargo. So I think you could probably move as much as you want. Like, it's not going to tip over from you.
I wouldn't say
Yeah.
there's a threat of the boat outright capsizing, no. But I would say that if you do, if you shift too much, even if your equivalent of doing this, what I'm doing now, that's going to cause the entire. You're heavy enough that would cause the entire boat to shake. I think a ton of iron ore in any boat, even a fairly sturdy low-bottomed canal boat like this one, is going to cause some rocking, some unexpected rocking. And that's where you're at right now. You're really trying not to do that, Pyrite, but it's absolutely what you want to do. Pyrite, I want you to go ahead and roll plus con to see how long you manage to hold out before this happens.
Okay, plus con, so it's plus 2.
He's rolling those dice.
And it's 7 plus. It's 9. It's
It's a 9 plus what? Sorry.
No, it's a 9 total. I think he said it's a partial success.
it's
A 9 or a 10. Sorry. There we go. Thank you. Lovely. It's a 7 plus 2 is 9. Gotcha. Okay, a partial success. Yes, great.
it,
Oh. Okay, partial success. So the danger. This essentially defy danger. The danger here is that almost unbeknownst to yourself, you know that there's something strange going on because you've stopped and you're hearing another voice, right? You can hear another voice outside the box, but you cannot get over the fact that this you're in this stupid you're in a wooden box of emotion right here. You can't have enough room to breathe, to maneuver, to nothing. This is very cramped indeed, and you're kind of rocking and shaking. And what happens is the merchant kind of cut. So fair enough, you've got your 9. Cut back to the kind of the merchant having this conversation with this other guy. He's like, oh, he's handed all his papers. The merchant's got his papers that he needs. They're probably forgeries, or he's paid off the right people, enough to say, or he's just put, a 20 credit note hidden in the papers for this guard. Whatever is the normal lay of this thing for the merchant to kind of get on his way. But this guard is not saying no. And the guard is like, okay, yes, your papers seem in order. Just a routine check of your disconnecting friend, and we'll go over. That's fine. So it's like routine check, and then you'll be on your way, sir. Very good, thank you. And the merchant sort of rolled his eyes and said, fine. So
what's the guard doing now?
The guard walks past you, keeps another eye. He doesn't really look at you, but does look to side of an aside glance at you as he walks past, Alex. He's not noticed you.
No, yeah.
And he's headed down below decks, and he started kind of mooching around looking at these crates. Here's what happens. A couple of things happen, and then I will take the no doubt frantic questions about what do you do. The first thing that happens is he starts rooting through all the crates.
Okay.
He's looking around. Pyrite, you're almost physically shaking. Your rocks are jangling as you really want to try and hold your own. And a rat kind of crawls right over your disconnected connection there. Suffice to say, he basically just about holds it together. As he's looking round, the guard is looking at the first box of grain, the next box of lumber, the third box of iron ore. The iron ore seems all fine. Closes the lid again. Starts looking round, and then I'll tell him this in a second. And then he can't hold it any longer, and he just kind of has to kind of strain his neck and go bam, and it's enough to make the lid basically go bam like that. Just as he's kind of turned away and he's kind of inspecting the next sort of box or next box along. So he's sort of checking the 5th box. If Bastien's in the 3rd, he's checked the 5th box, and the 3rd box has gone blam like that. And obviously he's turned around and gone, what the fuck was that? The other thing that happens, Bug, you're still outside the front, and you're keeping an eye on this guy as he's
I'm watching him, and I saw what just happened with.
So,
Pyrite.
Okay,
by the way,
well, that's good.
Everyone's watching the second guard. Just thought I'd point that out.
Yeah, well, that's
So
interesting.
I am keeping an eye on the second guard.
You're keeping an eye on the second guard, are you? Okay, so you're not paying
just
any
peripherally.
Okay, well, peripherally then, you see the second guard start collecting like this big old heavy net. Pulls this heavy net out from a storehouse that was kind of to the side of the lock gate. You know what? It's the room where they keep kind of all the mechanisms and everything for opening the lock gates. And
But he can't get on the boat, correct?
Sorry?
He can't because we pulled over to the right side. So the other guy's kind of like there's a stretch of water between the
Well,
boat.
so he can presumably throw something at us, or maybe.
Here's what happens. Here's what happens, guys. Here's what happens, guys.
Yeah.
He's got a very heavy net, very big net, and he kind of collars over you. By the time you've turned to see him, Rex, because obviously he's been doing this while the other first guard's been chatting. By the time you turn to see him, he's pulled out this very heavy net. He's collared a couple of the local fishermen to help him do it, and they've just flung this net out towards the water. Okay, it hasn't reached you. He pulled, and he's rapidly pulling the net back. And then they all get distracted by the ice cream van that was obviously there. So here's what's happening. The second guard, who's roped in a couple of fishermen, is trying to throw this heavy net over the boat and effectively immobilize it. Meanwhile, the first guard has been distracted by the fact that Bastien, Pyrite, as much as Pyrite tried to hold it in, as the first guard was checking these 5 boxes, he looked at the first box of grain, looked at the second box, regular lumber, looked at the third box, iron ore. It was basically okay. But by the time he got to the 5th box, the 3rd box made a very loud, obvious bang, as Pyrite just couldn't hold it in any longer.
Okay, well, having noticed what the second guard's doing, I will whistle towards Bug and then point at the guard who's currently in the process of throwing the net.
Okay.
And then I'm going to stand up,
Mhm.
And then sort of hoist my sword over my shoulder and bellow as loud as I can. Is there a problem here?
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay.
I'm trying to
They don't
determine.
Respond at all.
Well, other than
I'm trying to tell if I can get
Sorry,
out of my
Bastien, say
box
again?
or not. I said I'm trying to tell if whether
you
I
can
can
totally get out of your
my
box
box.
if you get out. Your box is now very suspicious to the first guard, Bastien. You can break out of your box right now and give the game away, or you can try and just hide and pretend it was, and the others can kind of cover for you and pretend it was the wind. But first, before I do that, Pyrite, I want to come back to what happened with Rex. Okay.
I was going to say,
okay.
so looking at the second guard who's in the process of tossing the net, like, is it absolutely obvious from what they're doing with the net that they're trying to toss it onto the boat?
It is when the second guard basically motions to the other guys. He's like, "Come on, quick!" You hear him sort of quietly saying, "Come on, quick!"
They completely ignored my challenge and they're redoubling their efforts
no.
to throw the net.
What happens is the second guard basically leaves the other fisherman to kind of rope up the net and give it another throw. The second guard starts crossing over the bridge and heading towards you. Okay, so that's what's happening right now as far as the second guard is concerned.
So keeping an eye on the second guard, I will walk over to the first guard, who's probably just doing a double take on box number 3 now, and then I will sort of put a hand on his shoulder and turn him around and say, "Oi, what are you playing at?"
Okay, fair enough. This is going to be
with my sword still over my shoulder.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, he says, "What are you?" When you say, "What are you playing at?" he basically goes for his sword. He turns around, his face is a stone mask, and he flicks the hilt. His sword is on his hilt, right? You flicked him out. His hands are still free. He just basically grabs the sword out of his hilt and tries to clock you across the chin with the hilt of his blade to kind of get you to stagger back. So I'd like you to roll plus dex for me. The danger being basically...
No. That's a 5.
Okay. Mark experience, lovely. So you get a good clock across the chin. Obviously you don't get slashed, which is nice, but you do take d6 damage from this guy's blow.
Okay.
As basically he clocks you one.
So 1 point of damage.
Absolutely. Yeah.
2 armor.
Depends if you're armored on the chin or not. I suppose you could be.
I've got a helmet and everything on.
Okay. It was fairly heavy armor, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. It's
when you're
scale
wearing
armor.
all of it.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Lovely. Great. He clocks you one. You stagger backwards, kind of clasping your chin, which gives him enough room to draw the sword proper.
Yep.
He spins round and he makes a leaping dive for Bug, basically.
Okay.
Bug.
Did
I
I
is
see
there any
that,
chance?
Joe?
I would say that
It was right in front of
heard
his box.
You probably,
so...
yeah, it was right next to you. You might have seen it via a crack. You certainly heard it, and you heard Rex going, "Ow!"
Okay.
And you heard blades being drawn.
the bag, okay, cool, which is a starting move of the channeler, and I can emit an amount of primary element, which is, I would like to, he's jumping and beside bugs, he lands in the water or whatever, but he misses his target.
Okay, so to clarify all of that, because I don't think I got any of it, I'm
Yeah, we
afraid.
didn't hear much of that.
You're using your channeler powers to emit an electric shock, is that right? To kind of blast him into the
No,
water.
it's not an electric shock. It's a movement shock. It's a force.
Your shockwave discus.
That it's not the shock wave. I'm using the shock of the. When you jumps, you shock your feet on the ground, and when it does that, that gives him force, and then it will jump into the air. When it does that, I trickle his jumping force into a larger force, so that it will jump. If it was on the moon, let's say.
Okay. So you're
So he's-
breaking. So you're. Okay. So let me just get this straight. You're breaking free of the chest, then, is that right? And and then as you're breaking free,
No, I don't have to.
you're just kind
I
of
don't
launching.
have to because I have to around enough.
So the channeler has a move called Trickle, right? Which
Yeah.
lets him turn a small amount of his element, which is in this case is force or whatever you want to call it, into a
It's
larger
shock,
amount.
isn't it?
So I think the idea is that like he's turning the jumping movement of the guard into a much stronger jumping movement. So that instead of jumping towards Bug, the guard sort of gets thrown into the air.
Well, your primary element is shock, is it not, Pyrite? So you're trying to electrocute him effectively.
Yeah, that's it.
It's
Yeah, shock is electricity.
yeah, shock would be like electricity, surely. Is that not the?
Oh,
Correct me if I'm
shock
wrong.
is
Don't. I'm not
electricity.
trying to.
Okay. I
I
thought
mean, if
it was
it's force,
kind of.
it's force. Cool.
Yeah, so I think considering that like his entire character sheet is essentially based around the assumption that it's force.
Let's
and
go
that
with
you
so okay.
yeah.
So you're trickling a short amount of force to kind of push him a little bit further, and you're trying to do that just to emit a small amount.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I would say that that's fine and that's absolutely doable. So you're kind of almost because it's got to come out of your palms, right? It's got to come out of your palms because
Yeah.
that's where you've decided it emanates from. So you've got to get your palm out there and kind of poof, however that is emanated out. So you can totally do that, although he will see your hands kind of coming out. He will see this rocky hands coming out of the chest before he's flung wherever he's flung to. I won't make you roll for it
Yeah,
because it's
but-
not part of the roll.
Only is more on the move, which should not, makes him too suspicious about it.
Sure. Well, he might not. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not a particularly suspicious move. It's a small amount of force. I'm not
Yeah.
saying he's definitely going to know it was you, but I am going to say
Okay.
I'm going to say this now. He's going to what he may see. He may simply think it was his imagination. He may simply forget. But if he doesn't forget, or if he doesn't think it's his imagination, in the whatever is to come, he may see a small amount of. He may see a sort of a rock-like hand coming out of this chest, coming out of the crate, going boom, and kind of emanating this shockwave of force.
Yeah.
Small shockwave of force to kind of push him as if he'd been kind of caught up, as if I suppose it's a bit like as if a hand had kind of pulled him a little bit further. Is that about right? Have I got that? Apologies, Bastien, because I know that the connection isn't great, and I'm sorry if your intention isn't quite coming through as you'd hoped. But is that about right?
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's
Yeah,
go
that's
with
right.
that. So here's what actually. Yeah. Okay. So here's what actually happens then. The guy kind of turns and he's like, once he's clocked Rex across the chin, he kind of turns towards Bug, and then he kind of just as he's turning, He sees the lid of the crate open just a fraction, just enough to see, is that a hand? He's not sure, and before he can even think about it, boom! He's been kind of thrown aside, and he gets scattered. It doesn't throw him quite across the side because it's only a small amount of force, but what it does do is it knocks him forcibly against the kind of guardrail that Bug was on. And it goes from him having a full-on attack against Bug to being kind of scattered. And to be frank, a little bit at Bug's mercy right now. And we're going to leave that for a second. I just want to take a very quick break just to nip to the loo and get drinks and whatnot. And we're back in a second. All right? Cool. Back in a
That's right.
Do you want to take the thing off air, maybe? Too late, he's gone. Oh well. Actually, that's not a bad idea. I'm going to do the same thing. I'll be right back.
All right.
That's two of us back.
Great.
I'm here too.
Okay. Great.
my
Okay,
toast is
Bastien.
toasting, so I might just have to grab the toast when it's done.
What time is it over there, Steve?
It's a little bit before noon.
Oh, right, blimey.
I'm making
Whereabouts are
myself
you, by
a
the
little
way?
PB&J. Huh?
Sorry, whereabouts are you?
I'm in Portland, Oregon. I just actually moved here like 2 weeks ago. I used to live in Boston.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Really thriving game community here so far. I've been having a lot of fun.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and maybe next year for head up to Seattle for Emerald City Comic Con. The next one too. So, but
Awesome.
my toast just popped up. I'll be ready in a minute.
No worries. While he's busy toasting his toast, let's kind of just take stock. So we've got Rex. You've been scattered, but your sword's out and your blood's up, I imagine. And you were, I don't know, about to do whatever you're about to do when the this first guardsman got kind of rocked back by a kind of a show of force, a blast of shocking shockwave of force, miniature shockwave of force, but enough for you to sense it nonetheless. Is this the first time you've seen Pyrite's channeler powers?
No, I think we'd have seen them before because Pirate was saying that he was trying to impress me with his
This is true.
powers.
Yeah,
So I've
Pyrite.
definitely seen them before.
I mean, Pyrite. I suppose. Is there any vested interest in you kind of hiding the fact you're a channeler? Would there be any reason to do so?
No, and so, well, I don't really hide. It's something we don't. Well, it's something we don't use in Jola, but here outside I don't had many occasion to use it.
Right. Okay.
So
So, and
probably
sorry.
the discus.
So it's
Sorry.
pretty commonplace where you come from. It's not unusual to be a channeler in for the rockmen in general, for like yourself. But out here, you're not so sure. Is that
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
it. That's it. So I've
So-
been cautious.
Cautious, yeah, but not, you know, not been afraid to use it when you've needed to use it to defend yourself or whatever. You haven't made an effort to hide it by the sounds of
For
things.
sure. Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
I mean,
Okay.
back when I was living with the peasants, I used my my wave discus to to the corn in the. I've used my earthquake to plow the fields. So I'm not. I don't hide it, but I only use it when I think I need to use it.
Sure. You use it to make your life and the lives of others you respect easier.
Yeah, that's it.
But you don't flaunt those powers where you don't need to. Yeah. Sure. Okay, excellent. That's good to know. And exactly the same, of course, as what's happened here. You've used a little trickle of force just to keep things a bit better. Cool.
Yeah.
So you're there. Let's kind of take stock. We've got the first guard is somewhat sprawled, but not out for the count yet. Kind of sprawled against the railing. Just managed to catch his footing just before he fell in the water proper. And instead of launching into Bug, he's kind of ended up sprawled against this railing. So he's up and very close to you, Bug, and he's got his sword out, but he's kind of not got in a position to use it perfectly. That's the first guard. The second guard has sort of making his way as we speak, kind of across our little bridge area. So he's kind of crossing over there. He's probably momentarily ducked out of view in this sort of moment, only to kind of emerge on your side, on the other side, a second from now. And the fishermen are still kind of sorting themselves out and trying to rope you at the behest of this second guard. And that's where you guys are at right now.
Did you say that the guy was pretty much at my mercy?
I did indeed. What do you do?
Dude, I'm gonna backstab him.
Absolutely.
So I'll whip out my dagger.
Actually, if he's using mercy, you don't even need to backstab him. You just do your damage to him normally.
So you got two options, haven't you, Alex? You can either do your
Yeah.
damage outright, or you can roll, which gives you potentially the option of doing more damage or even more cool stuff to him at the potential cost of not doing anything to him. Or
Okay.
in either case, in that case it's roll plus
I,
dex.
I have a pretty high dex, so I'm gonna take that risk.
Always fun.
Enjoy your snake eyes.
Enjoy your experience.
I know I've tempted fate there, but let's see.
Wrong system. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's the sort of luck I like in my players.
Alex, you jinxed me. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna add
Oh,
in a
dear.
counter here for my first echo point.
All right. Going for the backstab. What weapon are you using there?
It was gonna be my dagger.
Your little dagger.
Yeah.
Excellent. You thought you had this guard at your mercy. You fought until you rolled so well. Oh, hold on a second. Sorry, Bastien. If you hit that drive icon, it's the green, yellow, and blue icon on your left-hand side. You should see the sketch pad reappear. So where was I? Oh yes, you thought you had this guy at your nursery. He had sprawled out. To be fair, he hadn't expected to be sprawled out, and you did see kind of a flash of surprise over his normally bored, placid features. But and you thought, aha! Flicked your dagger out, ready to go for a quick stab in his side. However, faster than you'd expect him to react, he reacted. Flipped back, grabbed your forearm, kind of wrenched it in such a way as to flick your dagger out of your hand.
Oh.
So he's got you in. He's got his hand. He's got his arm. He's got his hand around your forearm, and has kind of wrenched your arm and disarmed you. You just hear a ding, 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 ding.
Where did it land?
The little splash indicates it has not landed anywhere you can grab it immediately.
All right.
You've still got your other weapons, I believe. You've got your bow.
Yes, I can throw daggers and a short sword.
So there you
But
go.
that was my favorite dagger.
That was your favourite dagger. The guy's grabbed you now. You can't help but smell, now that you've got him up close and he's like getting right up in your face, you smell this overpowering scent of flowers. You smell peace lilies. You smell the unavoidable scent of peace lilies.
I yelled at Rex. It's the red roses. The red roses, were their mark.
I'd figured it out by this point.
Oh, did you? How'd you do
Rex
that?
is not that stupid.
Oh, really?
Or more accurately, he doesn't really care. It's someone trying to kill him, so stab him.
Well, so just watch out for the poisons.
Yeah. So what's the other guard doing? What are the fishermen doing with their net?
An excellent question. The fishermen are about ready to go for another throw. They're kind of grabbed up together, and you can hear them kind of going, "Oh!" You can only sort of indistinctly hear them from the other side, but you can hear them kind of going, "One, two," like that sort of thing. Ready to heat
So
it.
can I maybe shout at them and ask them to not throw the net in terms that will make it clear that I will kill them if they throw the net?
Okay, so it sounds like you're trying to parlay with them.
Yes, using strength.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to say this now. You can certainly try and parlay with them and discuss this sort of thing with the threat of violence and all that.
And what I'm actually going to say is, "Oi, throw that net and I'll stab you."
Exactly, and that's absolutely fine. I'm going to point out two things before you commit to that roll, though. The first thing is that by doing that, you're turning away from where the second guard is. The second thing is you're on the other side of the river from them, and there is an element of your impending violence may be quite impending because you've got to get to the other side to do it first. Now, they don't necessarily realise that. You might still be able to win them over. We'll see how the roll goes. But you've still got to parlay, and on a 10+, your move is you parlay using strength instead of con.
So I thought the second guard hadn't arrived yet.
No, but to the best of your knowledge, he hasn't. But if you're going to turn around and say "oi" to these other guards, you're going to be turning away from where.
I'm more going to sort of like throw the comment over my shoulder as opposed to turn around and then slowly speak to them and then ignore everything behind me. I think that probably makes more sense.
Okay, so what are you doing more? Trying to threaten them with violence, or trying to keep an eye on where the second
trying to keep an eye on the
guard's
second
going?
guard, definitely.
Right. So here's what happens then. You hear 1, 2 at the same time as hearing that.
Two.
Also, yes, Bastien?
Two.
Yep.
Yeah. seeing that there's a lot of trouble around and that we've been quite discovered, I decide to raise from my crate. And when I see these people trying to throw the nets, at the moment they throw the net, I will channel my energy
stop you
to
there, Pyrite, 'cause you
create
can't
an
really see
invisible
them at this
wall
stage.
in front of the net.
I'm going to stop you there, Pyrite, because you can't really see them at this stage.
Okay.
One,
Who can I
3. There we go.
then?
Just for the moment, here's the thing, Pyrite. You are still in a box. You made a point of wanting to stay in the box with just showing your hand, which means that you can't really see from inside the cargo hold. You can't see what Rex sees from the top deck, which is these fishermen throwing the net. Now, there's nothing stopping you. You could probably hear and you can probably feel the boat rocking, and there's a lot of clamour around you, and there's nothing stopping you from getting out and seeing this. But you will have to get out first. And then you can do whatever you like. You can fry the boat, you can fry the water, you can do what you like.
The first thing,
Okay.
I said was that I was getting out of the crate.
You are getting
Maybe
out.
you
of the
didn't
crate.
hear that. But
So okay, apologies, I didn't hear that part.
it's all right.
So you're getting out. So okay, so let me just finish what's going on with Rex, and then we'll come back to what happens immediately after you get out of the crate. Okay? So Rex.
Yep.
You're not getting out of a crate, so I just got to get that clear in my mind. There are no crates as far as Rex is concerned. Okay, let me write that down. So you see the fishermen. They're about to haul a net over you, and they're probably going to catch it. At the same time, the second guard, you glance out of the other corner of your eye, the second guard is now on this side, and he's making a lot of speed towards helping out his mate.
Yeah, I'm
grabbed thingy by the arm. So what you can do is you can do one of two things.
Yep.
You can either shout at those guys over there and threaten them with all the violence you like, or you can do something about this second guard.
Can I charge at the second guard while also shouting I'm going to kill them if they throw the net?
No, because that would mean
Okay, I'll
you're
charge the
under
guard.
the deck. Right. So you're charging, and that's fair enough. Now let's just jump in with what Pyrite's doing, because effectively, as you kind of head down under deck, Pyrite, you jump out of your crate, right?
Yeah.
Is that right, Pyrite? Cool. So, excellent. Pyrite, you hear all of this palaver around you. Palaver is a British word, I think, which just means mess. Pyrite, you hear all of this around you. You hear fishermen you hear this indistinct crying outside of fishermen hauling stuff. You hear the sounds of battle all around you. And sir, you decide you've had enough. You burst free of this chest, your rocky form finally kind of stretching out. You see Rex kind of striding past you at this point. You're not entirely sure where, but you'd assume to help out Bug on the main deck, which would be to your right. So, if you like, he's here.
Okay.
The merchant is still just kind of cowering here at this stage. He doesn't really know. This is all happening within sort of a minute of each other. You are, well, let's keep the rock form, I suppose. You're still kind of this square here. But, there you are. I'm not quite sure how to share this with you, unfortunately. And if you aren't getting Drive, I'm not sure why that would.
Yeah, I'm back on.
Might be a connection issue. But suffice to say, this is what you see and hear right now, Pyrite. You hear the clamour of fishermen from the other side of the river saying 1, 2, 3, and they're trying to just kind of throw it out, right? You see Rex striding from your left to your right towards the guards who are rapidly approaching from the right-hand side of the boat. The first guard has got his hand around Bug's wrist and in a none too pleasant position. The second guard you can't see right now, but you'd assume by Rex's kind of hurried gait, hurried walk, that he's coming from that way too. So, Pyrite, with that knowledge in hand, what do you do?
Moment. The fishermen throw the nets. I will my energy to build an invisible wall just in front of the net on the other side of the boat, and the net should just fall.
Awesome. Awesome. I noticed that your invisible wall is also a hazard. Is that like a force hazard? How is it a hazard?
No, hazard means it has an environmental effect. So it's
Okay.
a zone effect.
Okay. Fine. Excellent. So that would be
Okay.
you.
I just one
Rolling
plus
plus
scan
one.
plus
Yep.
yeah,
Go for it.
and that's a 10
Lovely. Okay. So
success.
I'm going to say that you stride out to where you can see it, and then what does it look like when you channel this raw energy?
The wall is just I put my palms together, and then there is kind of an orb building between my palms, and then I open my palms, and there's this kind of heat wall, but it's the same effect in the air than a heat wall, but it's not heat. It's a force field.
Okay. Cool. Lovely. And that just kind of whoomph goes up and kind of covers the left-hand side of the boat. Awesome. So you kind of make this barrier force field. I guess nothing can go past that either, not even water. So you kind of push this force field out using your palms.
Yeah.
And then you kind of see this. I mean, for anyone else who sees this, you would probably be used to seeing this pyrite. But anyone else who sees this sees literally like a break in the water. It's as if someone's actually pushed an invisible wall into the water itself. Like you might not even see anything above the water line, but you actually see the waters split a little bit to the immediate left of where the boat is, as this invisible wall kind of emanates this disc. And yeah, the net just clatters off of it, and you see these random fishermen. They've never seen a force like this before, and you see them kind of go, "Oh my god!" And you hear them kind of. Does the force field let through sound? I guess they'd hear it round the sides anyway.
Maybe muffled.
Muffled, yeah.
It's just like a bit. It's a bit like thunder. It moves the air, and moving the air makes a sound. So it or something like that, or
Right.
whoop, you know.
Cool. Excellent. So you hear this kind of this rumbling noise, and the waters part in a small amount to kind of make this barrier. And the net actually, so it sounds like the net wouldn't just be kind of bounced off; it would just almost be pushed off, forcefully pushed off, and the net just kind of tumbles into the water, kind of all tangled up and useless. And the fishermen start kind of going, "Oh my lord!" and they don't really understand what's happened here, but all they know is that it's something incredible and very, very strange indeed.
Bug is kind of grimaces. I mean, too much attention's being drawn to us with that noise. He's thinking to himself, "We got to get out of here pretty quickly. Other guards are going to start coming now after that."
Yeah, absolutely. So you think all of those things. You also think, "Ow, my wrist hurts." As this first guard, this has all happened in sort of. This is one of those times in Dungeon World because there isn't really initiative. You tend to get these senses. I tend to get this sense that sometimes things happen in almost bullet time. We're describing a whole load of things that happen in actually what is a very short space of time. So a minute has passed. In that minute, you know, a guard's come in. He's looked at some papers. He's looked at 5 boxes, and then everything's gone to crap, you know. So we're still at that sort of point really, where this first guard is he's still grabbed your arm and smelling of peace lilies, and the second guard is now like right on top of the boat. You know, he's come round and he's right on top. I know you're kind of champing at the bit here, Bug, and I am really interested to hear what you do, but I also want to hear kind of at the same time what Rex is doing with this second guard. So Rex, over to you. You're kind of striding through the boat, you're striding, and the Chandler's kind of striding past you almost in the other direction to put up this force field. Rex, you're kind of a little bit below deck, or maybe heading up the deck as you hear this vroom, and like you feel the boat get rocked by this strange form of force, but you don't really see it because it's happening on the other side of the second guard, who is now striding across the boat, and he's kind of effortlessly kind of just leaped on, sword in one hand, dagger in the other, and it's a very nasty looking dagger.
Okay, well I'm intent, like my one thing that Rex wants to do is kill this guy, so I'm focused on that.
Excellent.
To the exclusion of essentially everything else.
Great. So as you burst out through to the front deck, on here. You kind of lock eyes with the guy, and combat is joined. Let's see what happens. Roll hack and slash for me.
Yes, I will roll hack and slash. It's a 10.
Lovely. All right. Go ahead and roll your excessive amount of damage.
So, but hang on. I will roll my damage, but I will also take an attack from him in exchange for doing more damage.
Okay. Nice.
So that's a D10 plus a D4 plus a D8 plus 3.
Lovely. Well, let's see what you
that's
got.
garbage rolls.
Wow.
So that's only 11.
Only 11. 11 is going to be plenty to kill him. That's absolutely fine. Let's see how much damage he does in return. He does another D6 damage to you. By the
So
time you
that's
finish dancing around.
8 points of damage.
Another point of damage to you. Cool.
And I cut him in half.
Okay, you cut him in half. Excellent. So, obviously, this is now coming a little bit out of bullet time, and we're going to hear in a second what happens with Bug at the same time as all of this. While the channeler is busy channeling at the same time, almost on the other end of the boat. So, battle is joined. He kind of grabs you, or rather, his first blade comes down. You parry it quite happily. His dagger comes through. Chink! Gets a nasty little shot across kind of your the strap of your chin again. Let's say leaves a nasty little streak of blood going across your chin. Your chin strap kind of chink, just manages to kind of break the chin strap there, and leaves a tiny trail of blood. One HP's worth of damage, in other words. And then you're like, right, Sonny Jim. And you just absolutely eviscerate him right down the middle. And his legs tumble onto the deck. And his... Have you got Messi? I'm assuming you do.
I do, in fact, yeah.
In this instance, you do
in
anyway.
fact, yeah. This is me swinging away wildly, like without a care for my safety, essentially. So that's messy and dangerous on top of the damage.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough. So you go for an absolutely wide swing with your broad... Is your broadsword like a Final Fantasy VII?
It's a great sword. Yeah, more or less. Like, it's a bit more reasonable than that, but it's essentially like a 6-foot-long great sword that has to be wielded two-handed because it's just a sharpened slab of metal.
Oh yeah, that sounds very reasonable. Yeah. Excellent. Well, this 6-foot-tall sharpened slab of metal goes careening through this guy's waist. The legs just tumble down in front of you, spitting blood all over your shoes and the deck. The top half just goes clattering down, almost kind of bounces down between the boat and the side of the deck. Just clatters into the water, basically, with a distant splash. His bottom half doesn't particularly smell of roses that you can tell, or peace lilies or anything else. But then, there's not really enough of him left to find out. The dangerous aspect of your swing, your swing continues through into kind of the edge of the boat itself.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of lodges your blade just into the edge of the wooden edge of the doorway you came out of just now. So you're just just as you're kind of wrenching out the end of your maneuver, as it were, it's just you're kind of trying to wrench this thing free without causing too much damage, any more damage to the boat or anyone else.
Sure.
While all this is going on, Bug, this guy's got you by the wrist. I guess while all this is going on, you're dimly aware of a very angry Rex. Well, actually, I suppose he's not even that angry. This is just Tuesday.
Just you and Rex.
Yeah, this is just Rex. But yeah, Rex has got his blood up, and he just absolutely trounces the other guard coming that way. What are you doing with this other guard who has sort of disarmed you and grabbed you by the hand? He's grabbed you by the hand and he's not letting go. And a sadistic grin has come across his smelly, peace lily smelling face. What do you do?
Well, certainly I want to be able to get away from him, so I'm going to try to pull my arm away from it. And if I can, I'm going to draw and attempt to attack him with my short sword.
Okay. So here's what happens. That's going to be kind of two rolls in a way, unless you want to specify one over the other. If you're more interested in getting away or dealing him damage, then we can just do one roll. If you want to do both, it's going to be two rolls, and we'll see what comes of that.
It's going to be two. I think being close to these guys and their proficiency in poisons, I'd want to create a little bit of distance between us.
Sounds good.
So I assume it's defy danger and then hack and slash.
You got it exactly right. Yeah, defy danger using your dexterity. Let's just see how well you're able to kind of leap away from his swing, and
Okay.
then hack and slash to see how well the attack went. I think even if you don't manage to get, even if it's a 6- on the first roll, you're still going to have enough kind of space to get your short sword out and attack. So let's see those two rolls side by side and see what comes of
Do you
it.
say dex or strength to get out of his grip?
I'd say dex, because you're trying to. Well, it's up to you. It depends on how you get free. But I was assuming you're going to kind of try and slip your hand free of his grasp and then jump away. Kind of. It's more about. It's not so much about getting out of his grasp. It's more about clearing some space, as you said there.
Okay, as long as I can put some space between them, then yeah, I'll do the dex.
So if the priority is space, then it's kind of quick movement, which I would kind of label as dex as a rule.
All right, that is not going to be enough to get me out of there. However, that's only 6. And so that's another XP. Thank you. And then I will certainly hack and slash, though.
Yep. You've sort of committed to the move now, so carry on with the roll and let's see what comes of that.
All right, hold on. It's done. That's going to be 11.
Lovely.
For that one.
So you weren't really able to get away from his grasp, or if you were, it was at quite great cost. But then when you were after that, you were able to deal quite a lot of damage to him. In fact, at the expense of avoiding any extra damage yourself. Okay, cool.
Right. So now roll d8 because it's if I get my.
Roll your damage. Let's see how much damage you did to him.
All right, so it's just my class damage, correct?
Mm-hmm. That's right. Your short sword doesn't have piercing or anything like that.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. The first one I rolled was simply a 1.
Oh dear. It doesn't go great.
On my second erroneous roll.
So here's what happens. Your defy danger doesn't work so well. So let's talk about that for a sec.
Okay.
You try and kind of wheedle your way free of his grasp and get a bit more distance between the two of you so that you can kind of get a good swipe at him, but you don't really manage to do that. You don't really manage to get out of it. In fact, you're wheedling around, but you can't break his grip. So when you try and leap out, you kind of pull him with you. Now what happens is, by pulling him with you, he still manages to kind of follow your step and basically maintain his hold. And given the fact that you don't do any damage to him, that 1 point of damage doesn't get through his armor. Your spare hand, you've managed to pull your short sword out of your spare hand. You're kind of holding it blade down, if you like. You've managed to pull it out of your scabbard, but you haven't been able to kind of twist it round and get it in a good stabbing position. So you've kind of pulled your short sword out and kind of raked it against his chest plate because that was kind of the best attack you could take.
Yeah.
And he's basically kind of followed your move. So the good news out of all of this is that you've got your sword out and you're in a slightly better fighting posture than you were before. The bad news is that you haven't been able to break free of his grasp, and he's still got you, and he's still kind of closed the distance. So if you like, you haven't got your second hand free, and you still can't really dance away from his blows.
Yeah.
And that's where you're at right now. Now, if no one does anything, the absolute next thing that's going to happen, because this is now we're up to speed. Pyrite has finished channeling, and the fishermen have started kind of dispersing a little bit here. The first guy is in pieces, and the second guy, I should say, is in pieces. Rex's target is in pieces, and the first guy has still got you here. Now, if nothing else happens, this guy is basically going to press his attack, and because he's still got you by the wrist, he's going to be able to do some outright damage to you. So, Rex and Pyrite, because I want to hear what Pyrite says as well, what do you guys want to do now? Pyrite, let's start with you.
Well, I don't have much to do. I'm pushing the fisherman away with my invisible wall, and I'm quite concentrated on that task. And I think that, well, Bug and Rex, they know how to get their way out of this kind of shit, and so I'm doing my part, but I'm checking that no other guard can climb on the boat. And if I will move my invisible wall so that they can't climb on the boat.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to tell you for free without rolling that you don't immediately see any other guards approaching. From sort of while you're kind of doing your Sue Storm Invisible Woman thing and kind of maintaining this force field, you're kind of looking in that way, and you're looking in the direction from where the fishermen have come and the guard area and whatnot, and you're kind of glancing about as best you can. You can't directly see any more guards that are going to jump on right this moment. I'll tell you that for free. Now, what you could do, if you like, is continue to kind of keep up your look and maybe even discern realities to see what things might be useful to you, or what things you should be on the lookout for in the field.
Okay, definitely. I'm discerning realities.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, so I roll plus wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So that's +1, and it's a 10.
It's a 10, lovely.
Yeah.
So you get 3 questions.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's go ahead and just sort of describe that area now, because the other guys are still very focused on this battle, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry to hold the knife over your head for a little bit, Bug, but let's come back to you in a second. The fishermen I could tell you for free, the fishermen have basically kind of dispersed here. There are a few that are still kind of stood there gobsmacked. My lord, what is that? What is that elemental monstrosity? And they don't really know what to make of you. You can keep the force field up as long as you like, or you can continue to drop it now. It's entirely up to you, but the net is not an issue anymore.
Yeah.
You're looking around. The guard's house, the third guard house where they came from, seems to be empty. You don't see anything obvious from there. You know that the second guard house has guards in it, and or at least did have guards in it when you passed through it 20 minutes ago. And I'm sure you could kind of keep a lookout if you wanted to ask some questions to that end. There's an element of kind of looking out for maybe where other guards are coming or other assassins are coming from other directions. The other thing that might be crossing your mind as you're kind of having a long scan of this area is kind of how you're going to get the boat through the lock now. How you're going to, you got to open the lock and get through now.
The first question I would like to ask is what here is useful to me.
Okay.
So I think that in fact I could use my power to trigger the lock so that we could get away from this water cage.
You could. That's absolutely right. You absolutely could use your powers there. I don't think you need to discern realities to find that out. So I'm going to tell you another way you could do that. Another thing you notice, the merchant. He's more or less cowering kind of at your feet from where you are. You're on the kind of the tiller side, the end of the boat, where the merchant was left. And as everything's gone to pot around him, he's more or less just kept his head down and kept quiet. But it strikes you as you're looking around that if you wanted to, you could send the merchant out to open the lock and let you through the gate. He might not be too happy about you kind of commandeering his boat, but he must know how to do it, right? This guy does these. It strikes you, well, this guy's been doing these routes for years and years. You'd assume he must know how to do it.
Yeah,
or absolutely, you also see the lock mechanism. It's nothing too fancy. It's just basically a big lever, a big wooden cantilever on the side of the shore. So you think, well, like one good blast could well do that.
Okay. Do I need to blast it open, or can I use my trickle?
You would need to blast that.
I will need to blast that. Okay.
It's a 6 foot tall lever made out of raw lumber buried into the ground. It doesn't move without at least one guard and possibly 2 straining at it. So you would need a significant amount of force to push it open.
Okay. Do I need to get out of the boat to do it, or can I just move along the boat and then, push it with my power, channeling my power to push it?
You couldn't say. You're not sure.
Because
what you do know is that you could certainly give it a try from the boat, or to get this comes back to the initial question you asked as well of what here is useful or valuable to me. The merchant is valuable because there's a guarantee, you see. This is the difference, Pyrite, is that sure, you can blast it open, and there's nothing stopping you from blasting it open, but it's not a guarantee that's going to do the trick, because you don't know about the range, you don't know how far it's going to reach, you don't know how heavy the thing is. The merchant does. The merchant knows exactly the way to strain at that thing, and a good, kick up the backside could send him on his way. Or you take your chances and keep the merchant with you on the boat. It's entirely up to you. Next, discern realities question.
Okay, next discern realities question is that what should I be on the lookout for?
Okay. So you're scanning around. You're scanning around. You're looking at this heavy cantilever and kind of doing the mental math to think, well, I might be able to blast this thing open myself, or I might be able to get that merchant to do it, because what else is he doing? And while you're also doing the scan, your eyes kind of pan right, pan left, back towards that second guard tower. Now, they didn't bother you before because they didn't bother you before. They just waved you through. But now you are seeing, as you kind of take a closer look up there, you're thinking, oh, and you can see through the kind of the terraced wooden slats, you can see some movement around there. And you think you hear a distant bell going dung 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 dung. And you
Okay.
think, that's definitely something to be on the lookout for. You think that enough commotion's been caused with your force field display and this sign of thunder that, yes, there's definitely something going on here. You're not sure why the guards haven't come out yet, but there is definitely some signs of commotion from within that second guard tower. And that is something definitely to be on the lookout for.
Could they unleash the water from their lock so that a huge wave would come and, topple over our boat?
It's possible. It's possible. It would cause a lot of damage, but it's possible.
Yeah.
You'd know that. You'd know that without asking.
Okay. And the third question is, what here is not what it appears to be.
Okay. Let's see. So you're looking around, and what you're seeing is a kind of a series of locks, a series of paired gates. You've got the gate you just came through, which is wedged shut, but could be opened, potentially. And you've got the gate that you're heading towards, which is also locked shut. And you've got the two guard towers. You've got the one guardsman who's in pieces, and the other guardsman is attacking Bug. You've got a lot of alarms and other noise coming from the second guard tower. And you've got the fishermen kind of running away out on their own, kind of basically just scattering to the winds now. Their net has worked, and it's more than their job's worth to carry on attacking against whatever they think you are. Elemental, demon, who knows? So in terms of what's here that isn't what it appears to be, other than I suppose perhaps to you, who hasn't been indoctrinated into the Thieves Guild, the fact that these guards are attacking so heavily might seem strange. But other than that, nothing else is here which seems like it shouldn't be. Doesn't seem like anything here is not what it appears to be, I would say.
Okay. So I guess I will order the merchant to go and pull on the lever to unlock the gate.
Sure.
So that we can get free. And by the time he does that, I will just, stay where I am, because I've got a good lookout place where I am, and just, trickle the boat and to get it moving, because I can, if I want to, I can bend the elements in my environment. So instead of using his very strange tiller thing he's using, I will just use my force on the water and on the force that the water applies on the boat, and use that to move the boat alongside and to direct the boat using the forces all around the boat.
Let's cross that lock when we come to it. First of all, let's talk about the merchant. So you've looked around, and the merchant's the one who's kind of cowering to your feet. Is this the first time the merchant's actually seen you? Because you wanted to keep the disguise up. Was that even so that the merchant didn't know who you were?
I don't know. This kind of details were Bug's, prerogatives, and I don't know. Bug, is the merchant? Do the merchant know who I am? Has he seen me in action before?
I would say no. I think we smuggled you on.
Right.
Okay.
Well, so I think it's probably more reasonable to assume that the merchant knows that Pirates is a like living being and has seen him walk around, but probably doesn't know the whole, force magic stuff.
Yeah, of
Suffice
course.
to
Otherwise, the
say,
alternative is we had to carry him on the boat, and I'm not carrying a ton of rocks or a ton of iron ore onto this boat.
okay. Well, suffice to say then that whether this is the first time he's seen you in action or seen you at all or whatever, this is the first time that he's seen a significant show of power from you,
Yeah.
and the merchant is pretty intimidated by that. This is not like something he's ever seen before. He's heard of it because the existence of your kind goes back 20 years. Rumors from the dwarves and beyond, but this is the first time that it's ever been seen in the city, so brazenly and up close, at least to this merchant. So the merchant's pretty worried, and he doesn't really know what to make of it, and he's like, oh god, and you've sort of, if you want to convince him to go out and man the tiller, not man the tiller, sorry, open the gates for you, he can certainly do that. You might have to give him some leverage first. You might have to do something in order to make it kind of snap him out of this kind of, he's there kind of almost not catatonic with shock, but he's pretty scared, and he just kind of wants to sit here. His instinct, if you like, is just to kind of sit there and wait for this all to blow over. So,
Okay, so
what do you do to snap him out of it?
I will do two things. Very simple. The first thing is I will look at him right in the eye with just my, big, huge red oculus, and I will just say, please, because I've seen that this word seems to have strange effects on people when you use it. So they seem to be more helpful. So that's the first thing I will try. If this doesn't work, I will just take my hand, put my hand in his back, and if he doesn't move, trickle a bit so that he stands up and goes his way to the lever.
Okay. All right. Cool. I wonder. Okay.
In the meantime, by the way, since I haven't gotten to say anything in a while, I've left the boat.
Okay.
So while all this is going on, I will have continued, sort of gone back the way the guard had come originally, crossed over with an intent to essentially hit the peasants, or the fishermen
Right.
rather. So that's what I'm doing.
You're crossing back over to
Yeah,
chase
so
down
I've left the boat and I'm essentially walking around the outside of the lock to go to where the fishermen were,
Right. Okay.
just to make sure that there are no witnesses left behind.
Right. Okay. You're chasing down the fisherman.
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good.
You gonna walk past me in a life or death situation?
You look
And then,
like you can handle yourself.
I think we have a bond here, don't you? That you're supposed to have my back.
Yeah. Okay. So
Bonds don't have to be resolved.
Yeah, I have your back, but I know that you can probably handle a guy who's grappling with you, and also I'm more interested in killing the fisherman right now.
Okay.
I mean, if you scream for help, there might be a difference, but just walking past.
Maybe I put a little too much faith in you, I think.
Pardon?
Might have to back up. Maybe I put a little too much faith in this relationship.
Like, as far as I can tell, you're essentially like fighting a guy, and I'm sure you can handle yourself. If you start shouting for help, there will be a change of course of action.
Okay.
Are
Here's
you
what-
shouting for help?
Well, will it matter? You're going to be off the boat on the other side.
No, but I can jump. I can jump back down on the boat. Basically, is what I'm saying.
Well, but you're going up and around to the
Yeah.
other
So,
side.
so if at one point while I'm doing that you've shouted for help, I will jump. I will have jumped down. So if you've shouted for help while I was doing that, I will come and help you.
But
If
the way
not,
I'm
I've gone for the fisherman.
is that the boat's on one side, and
That's
you're
right.
going
No,
to be.
but this is the thing: is like in the last 10 minutes or whatever conversation people have had, I've been doing this. So at some point in the last 10 minutes, you could have interrupted me, like within the time of the game, basically. I'm not on the other side yet. I at some point during the events that have just been described, I have been crossing
Yeah.
over.
The events as described, just to clarify what's happening here, the events as described is that in the last not 10 minutes, not even a minute, you've
Well-
cut a man in half. Just to clarify, you've cut a man in half. Bug has scored lightly across another guard's chest, and Pyrite is just about to say, "Go open the gate, please.
Yeah, so I haven't even had the time. Like, I've left
So
the boat
you are
essentially
no
and
not
clambered up onto the side of the lock, but that's as
Yes.
far as I'll be able to get.
Yes, you are
So
leaving.
I,
You are
this is
leaving the
like,
boat.
I would only now notice that Bug is actually fighting a guard.
Yes, correct.
Like, because
So-
last I'd heard, Bug was about to stab him and not fail miserably at his job.
Correct. That's exactly where you're at. You've dislodged your sword, and you probably have turned round to see Bug. Whether Bug then turns around and says help, 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 or whether he turns around and says no worries, man, I got this, or anything in between.
Yeah,
is up
so
to
that's
Bug.
essentially what I'm waiting for.
So for the sake of sorting that out, Bug, what do? You've got
Well, I don't think I'm even going to be like, I don't even think I'm going to be calling out. I mean, I'm in a life or death situation here, you know, so I'm going to be more intent on his blade and getting out. So I'm probably just going to be fighting the dude. I mean, I'm just going to try to do the same thing I did last time, pull free and attack him with my short sword.
Okay, fine. We'll come back to that, that's absolutely fine. We'll come back to that in a second. And in the meantime, since you don't give any obvious indication that you can't handle this, it sounds like Rex is going to carry on with his plan and go out and chase down the fisherman. So we'll deal with that in a second. I want to come back to Pyrite because we've kind of left him hanging here. So Pyrite, you're going to convince this merchant in the nicest possible way by saying please to go out and open the tiller for you and let you guys basically travel on and basically escape the city. So what I'd like you to do, Pyrite, is roll plus charisma for me.
Okay.
I'm not saying he won't do it if you fail here. I'm just saying how well your saying please works for him.
Okay. It's a 10.
A 10? Okay,
Yeah, 10.
Interesting. So, here's what happens. Pyrite, you loom over this merchant man, who you've not really had much to do with, if anything, up to this point. Okay?
Yeah.
You loom over him. He's looking at you. There's something that you think is terror, although you don't really understand with these flesh skins, these strange pink skins. You don't really understand their emotions for certain yet, but you think he's scared, understandably, because there's a lot of stuff going on, but you're not sure. He might be scared of you. You lean down, and in your nicest possible tone of gravelly voice, you kind of almost gently just trickle, your trickle's just kind of a boom to get him back on his feet and kind of push him through his own boat and say, open the gate. Oh, actually, you can't. You can speak in Dwarvish. So I don't think he knows Dwarvish. So you say in Dwarvish, you say please, whatever that is. And hopefully he understands what please is. But you are very, very non-threatening to him. Okay? And you say please and kind of gently push him on his way. And you're motioning towards the gate. And he looks back to you. And he just looks up at you and looks to the gate, looks to the gate opening through the window, kind of panicking sort of nods assent, and sort of staggers through. After he realizes you're not going to do anything to him, he sort of backs up and staggers through and heads off on his way. And that's what he's doing. And we'll come back to kind of what you're on the boat, Pyrite. It's just yourself. Bug is there at the far side of the boat. You would see this as the merchant runs off. He's going to run past Bug. Bug, you're in the middle of combat between yourself and this guard. It sounds like you're going to break free and kind of go for this fighting. Let's go for just a straight up hack and slash roll this time, because like you say, it's pretty much just life or death situation at this point. So okay. I want you to go ahead and roll your hack and slash for me. While you're doing that, Rex, you've charged across, because what the hell, you've not got a care in the world at this point. The other guy can handle it. There is no question in my mind that you couldn't mercilessly kill a load of fishermen if you wanted to. So this is not a hack and slash matter. There is not any any chance of doing any damage. The question here, the danger, if you like, that you are defying, is whether any of them scatter beyond your reach.
Totally.
And the question, which then would of course would lead to another question of, do you pursue them further or do you get back to the boat? So I'm going to say that's a con roll, because you're kind of running about backwards and forwards trying to kill a couple of them. So let's see what you get on that.
Yep, that's a 10.
So you got a 10 on your con roll, and you've got a 6 and a 5. That's
a 9 plus 1 for con. Right, so 10.
Oh, sorry, yeah, the flaming thing's in the way. My little bar at the top there is in the way of the thing there. Good, that's a 9. And Steve, you've got a 11. Excellent.
So that's a 10, by the way, because it's 9 plus 1.
Sorry, yes, it's a 10. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. And 4 damage there, I see. Cool.
Yes.
Do I need to roll damage, or can we just assume that they die?
No, I think with a roll like that, we can assume that you round them up. You're swinging. Basically, you kind of you're taking the stairs up the stairs. You're kind of going two at a time, and then you kind of almost leap from the other side and leap into the midst of these fishermen before they even have a chance to react. One of them still frantically trying to pull up the nets. He's the first to fall. And then the other ones are kind of running around. They back up and they don't realize. And one of them runs off, and you kind of chase after him full bore and manage to round him up. Yeah, before anyone can blink.
Cool.
And before anyone else has a chance to breathe, you've left a load of messy, eliminated corpses.
I take it they count as defenseless or surrendered for the
Yes,
purposes of my alignment. So
They absolutely do count as defenseless. So that's what's happened to you right now. Meanwhile, while all that's going on, Bug, you have dealt 4 damage to this guy and avoided any damage in return. I'm going to say that although you don't manage to kill the guy, you do finally manage to slip free of his grasp.
Yay!
I will say also, as Rex so happily pointed out earlier, if you want to amend that now and deal more damage to the guy, you can take a 7 to 9 result, and take some damage yourself, and deal more damage in return. Entirely up to you. Or you can take the results as given.
What the heck, right?
Absolutely.
Let me roll another 6 there. Make it another 3.
Okay, another 3. Awesome. You deal some serious damage to this guy. And, yeah, 1d6 damage. Awesome. You don't quite kill him, but you manage to get your short sword in under his chest plate. I managed to do some serious damage to him. Your sword is like embedded right in the sternum. Comes out bright red. Your short sword comes out bright red, and his hand loosens on the grip of on your wrist, clutches his side instead. As he's sort of now he's kind of backing his way kind of back and onto the top of the boat, and you've kind of got him on the defensive now. He's still up. He's still kind of parrying your blows as he can, but he's taken that really nasty blow.
Okay.
Arguably, he may just fall over. The other good thing is that he's moving nice and close to a certain large rock channeler. He's moving nice and close to this giant rock channeler and hasn't got any attention based on said channeler. So, to that end, Pyrite, you've looked up. The merchant is well on his way. You've seen this other human basically murderize these other defenseless fishermen after you kind of blocked the wall for them. And
So,
merchant
Did I
is
take
scurrying.
damage?
Say again, sorry?
Did I take damage from taking the 7 to 9 or no?
Oh, you're absolutely right. Of course you did. You took the 7 to 9 result. Sorry. So yes, add a d6 damage to that. Let's say that there's a trade-off of blows, but still the same thing stands. That like the combat ends.
So I have 1 armor, so that's 2 damage, correct?
Absolutely.
All right.
You take a couple of nasty blows to kind of the face and chest, but nothing that isn't serious.
Great.
Nothing that is serious, rather. And yes, Pyrite, you see this combat exchange go forth, and this guard who is looking pretty wounded now. He's bleeding a lot of that blood thing, and you're not a super expert on the soft skins physiology, but you're pretty sure that all that red stuff is supposed to stay inside them, not spill outside. So yeah, Pyrite, what do you do?
well, how far am I from them?
In terms of Dungeon World ranges, you are near, I would say.
Near.
You
So
are
I can
quite arm's
use
length, but not beyond that.
I can use my wave discus to cut the man in two.
Awesome.
So
Go
I will
for it.
do that.
Go for it.
I
That's
work with Khan, and that's only 7.
only a 7. So
Yeah.
let me just have a quick look at what that actually means. Pyrite on a 7 to 9. The raw magic flows out of your emanation point. On a 7 to 9, the same, but the power is too much. You can use your body as a dam and take 1d4 damage, or allow the power through and take a complication. So what would you like to do, Pyrite? Would you like to...
I think I will take the damage and use my body as a dam, because on this boat I would not like my magic to go, too much wide. You don't know what it could do here. So I will take the damage. I will take the d4 damage, and I will deal a d8 damage to the guard.
Awesome.
So The guard takes 4 damages, and I take 2.
Awesome. Okay, so you feel your kind of rocky essence kind of almost cracking open a little bit, but you're able to kind of control it enough to just force this shockwave discus out in the right direction. And this guy's like, he's parrying a blow, kind of, he's desperately trying to parry this halfling's blows and kind of keep himself on defensive. And he's kind of got the height over you, Bug, so for a second he thinks he's kind of got you on the ropes as the two of you are kind of dancing across the top of the boat. And then he turns around and is just met with this discus of glowing, shocking energy that just kind of, where does it hit him, Pyrite? Does it hit him in like the chest?
Okay, I imagine that the discus is getting from my palm, and so I make a move, which is a circular move, and then the discus goes, and so this one I think that since I don't want to touch Bug, I will make a vertical one. And so I think that the discus will touch him from face to, right through the body.
Yeah, yeah. It almost bounces off of the floor and kind of arcs upwards in a way. Oh, I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You can
imagine
it like a kind of a saw blade, but invisible saw blade.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking. Yeah, yeah. Would he see anything, or would it just jump? He's gone.
I think he would just see kind of like in cartoons, you would just see like a flashing line coming at him, and then blaff.
So that's what happens.
Yeah.
So he thinks he's got Bug on the defensive for a split second, and then out the corner of his eye he sees a flash of light, and then Bug, the guy, peels into two, and you see the familiar rocky shape of your friend Pyrite, kind of post-discus maneuver.
I'm pretty shocked, but
standing.
happy.
Awesome, awesome. Rex, by the time this is all finished and the other guard has been eviscerated as such, well, 2 eviscerated guards in one day. Again, with the high con roll you made, you don't find it too difficult to make it back onto the boat.
Sure.
And the merchant starts to let you through.
Excellent. Also, let's not forget the fishermen. So it's 2 guards and 2 fishermen. So 3 kills for me, 1 for Pyrite.
There's several fishermen killed on your side. I'd say it's more than 2 fishermen.
Oh, so even more kills for me.
Yeah, it's
So
loads.
it's still superior. I'd just like to lay that out there.
Okay.
Okay, I won't argue, but if I hadn't used my invisible wall, you would have been caught in a net. In the net, the fishermen were throwing at you.
Well, so Rex doesn't know this. Rex was under the boat when that happened, so all Rex knows is that he killed a guard and then killed some fishermen, and
Yes,
the net
of course,
didn't get turned for
you
some
only
reason.
notice what you want to notice. That's as usual. As usual. I can't live with that.
As you two are arguing away, Bug, you're keeping a watchful eye on this merchant as he's sort of straining, and he is pushing and straining with all his might to open these gates. And you do see in front of you, you see these giant sluice gates open up and start to slowly let you through into
hang
the
on.
next section.
If he was trying to open the gates on his own when I was walking by, surely I would have walked by him as he was trying to open the gate.
Well, you were busy killing people at the time. You were busy killing half a dozen.
Sure.
fishermen.
So what I'm
So
saying
it's
is,
up-
he's. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's up to you. I would say that by the time you'd finished, he's probably then running across. You'd have met him on the bridge.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So
you
it would
can
have made
totally
more
revise
sense.
what you're saying.
Yeah, it would have made more sense for me to help him so we can get out faster.
Okay. Cool.
Rather than heading back to the boat and just ignoring him as he strains against the door.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's do a quick retcon. No one argued about anything yet. I have a feeling it's still to come, but no one argued about anything just yet. You cross paths. You're like thinking, oh well, job well done. Got your blade there. It's nice, doused in blood. And then the merchant, with a big panicked look on his face, kind of, he's coming down the steps as you're going back up them, and you think, oh hello, what's going on with him? Put 2 and 2 together. He's going for this giant
Sure.
plank, 6-foot plank of wood. He's straining against it.
So I'm gonna put my back into it and give it a bit of a hand.
Okay.
Since we still need the merchant to sail the boat or
Absolutely.
navigate the boat, whatever you call it.
Sure, absolutely. Why don't you go ahead and roll plus strength?
That's a 9.
That's a 9. Okay, cool. So the two of you are kind of straining away, and it is a very heavy piece of wood. It's not really a big deal for someone of your sort of stature, but nonetheless, this is something which you need to put your back into. You wonder if maybe there was some kind of mechanism or some other way they'd done this to make this happen more smoothly, because it wasn't this heavy for the other two guards on the other two posts. But anyway, here you are, and you've got to make do with what you got, so you're putting your back into it. And sure enough, it latches. However, it either takes a second, it either takes a bit more than a second, let's say. Let's say it either takes longer than you'd like, or less time than you'd like to open this thing. Either you kind of put too much strain across it and kind of break something, or in order to avoid breaking it, you have to kind of hold your punches.
No, it's Rex, so it breaks.
Okay, so here's what happens. You're sauntering by, right, as the guy's running down the stairs as you're sauntering up the stairs, right, and you're like, hello, what's going on here? And you kind of see him go against this giant piece of wood, and you see him straining. You kind of roll your eyes and not a problem. Saunter back. You're like, all right, mate. And you just kind of effortlessly just like, doosh, and just push this thing wide open. You, after a second's worth of straining, it just kind of effortlessly kind of knocks across and unlocks the whole sluice gates. The whole wooden kind of slat just kind of goes forward about 45 degrees. The merchant goes sprawling on his face because you've kind of pushed it almost out of his hands. Obviously, you're fine. You're still holding onto the wood. And the thing kind of, you have to strain and strain and strain, and then it kind of is like a really easy push, and you almost get knocked over as the thing kind of knocks itself off its hinges. Pyrite and Bug, you're still on the boat, and you're not really attached to anything particularly, or if you are, then you've got plenty of time to kind of unhook yourself here. So the boat is kind of floating free unless you say otherwise.
No, I'm directing the boat.
Cool. You're directing the boat, so you're pushing the boat aside, you're pushing the boat into the middle of this little water area ready for the gates to open.
Yeah,
and
that's
open
it.
they do. The doors practically slam open as the force of the water kind of and the opening of the gates, this kind of heavy unlocking of the gates just kind of slams them open, and the boat kind of spins forward at speed, and is about to ram into the third and this is kind of the last kind of set of gates. After this set of gates, the water would normally be lowered down, and then that's it, the final kind of opening spot, right? So this is kind of the middle ground part where the final part would be draining. Does that make sense to everyone? Does that make, yeah? You see where I'm coming from, where I'll do another...
Well, no, so I had got the impression that we were inside the third lock, so...
Oh, I see.
There'd only be one set of doors, right? Yeah. So this is where it was draining. So presumably the outside doors have burst or like been flung open, and the water that was 10 meters high or whatever in the lock that we're in is now disgorging into the outside, the mouth of the river or whatever.
And we are riding the wave.
Yep.
Check diagram B. Yeah, that's
go.
Exactly what's going on. That is exactly what's going on. So yes, the doors slam open where the space you were supposed to be in was supposed to be drained, and oh hey Bastien, and
I'll be right back. Sorry.
Please.
Yeah, basically you got to ride the wave as best you can. I think this is where your water bending is going to come to the fore, Pyrite. Sorry, your bending of the elements. Let's not get sued here. So you're basically being carried forward on a tidal wave. This canal boat is not designed for tidal waves of the sort you're currently on. The boat is probably going to come apart. Plus there's the matter that the merchant and Rex are not on there at the moment. So there's a couple of things that you would like to happen, I suppose, at this stage. You would like to kind of hold the boat static enough to let Rex jump on, and then also be kind of coasted off rather gently, as opposed to being just carried away. So I think that your bending of the elements could certainly do something to do with that.
Yeah.
Force powers. You're kind of keeping the boat afloat, aren't you, on almost an invisible wall to keep it, and then float it down gently. So
what is the most imminent danger? Is it the boat capsizing, or is it the boat ramming into the doors?
The doors aren't a problem. The doors have been smashed open.
Yeah.
The boat probably wouldn't. The boat is probably shallow and heavy enough to not capsize. But what is going to happen is the boat is going to go flying off, and Rex is going to be kind of left on his Todd. Rex is going to be left on his lonesome. He's not going to be able to get back on the boat before the boat gets carried away on this tidal wave. So that's the danger.
Okay.
And as kind of Panaroo of the elements.
Okay. So the best. Okay. So I will bender the elements around Rex and just carry him inside the boat with the bender of the elements move, and I can move something into a new position within sight. So we'll move Rex right into the boat. Okay.
He's going to levitate us, basically.
Are
you leaving the merchant behind?
Absolutely. I like it.
Are you leaving the merchant behind?
Yep. So what's happening very quickly? What's happening to the merchant then, Pyrite? The merchant is
I will take him just right after that. I mean, if he is in sight, I can just do the same. So just tell me if I have time enough to take two people inside, or I will just try to take both of them and then put them inside. Maybe I can take both of them at the same time in just one move.
Let's see how you roll, because it's slightly different to the move as written. The move as written is about holding, isn't it? The move as written is saying on a 10 plus hold 3, on a 7 to 9 hold 1. I would argue that you're spending hold here to move Rex, that's one hold, and move Merchant, that's the second hold, isn't it?
Okay.
So you kind of need your 2 bits of hold to do both of those. So on a 10 plus, you're definitely going to do it. On a 7 to 9, you're going to have to choose, or work out a way to do something else with the move. Does that make sense? Does that sound?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah?
I roll the dice.
Let's see that.
Let's go. Oh, that's 10 plus 2, it's 12.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so there we go.
So I will choose to take Rex into the boat, take the merchant into the boat, and then I will use.
Well, what's happening here is you're manipulating the force in the environment, aren't you?
That's it. Yeah.
I'm using a bit of wiggle here because this isn't sort of shock and isn't force, but you're effectively creating kind of a bubble of force around the two of them and scooping them out and just kind of depositing them on the boat, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't take you much to concentrate on doing that. As long as you do nothing but concentrate on controlling it, you may spend hold 1 for 1 to choose an option. Well, you aced it. So let's just say, suffice to say, let's say this happens. Since you aced the roll, let's just say it happens like a little bit like this. The doors burst open, and the two of you, you and Bug, feel the boat kind of just being carried away beneath you. You don't move particularly. Bug, you might go sprawling a little bit with this sudden movement, but Pyrite, you're very sturdy, and it doesn't particularly stop you roll over or anything like that. However, you do see Rex and the merchant kind of sat on the shore, kind of on their Todd, and you think, right, had enough of this. Emanate together, get those palms ready, and you make this glowing ball of force and kind of grab the two of them and pull them in, and kind of almost get them like a fishing hook and line. You kind of yank them onto the boat with a show of force, and you sort of scoop them out of the environment and kind of throw them force push style, Jedi style, onto the deck of the boat. So Rex, from your perspective, what you sort of see is you see the boat just kind of careen over the edge of this tidal wave, and then you feel yourself just kind of being as if a tornado had caught you and turned you up and kind of deposited you onto the boat.
Okay. Do I have? Is this fast enough that I don't have the time to fight back, or?
I'd say you have enough time to fight back if you want.
Okay, well, as far as I'm concerned, there's this weird thing that's, like levitating me, so I'm definitely going to struggle.
Okay.
I don't know if I can, do anything about it, but...
Well, retroactively, it sounds like you're trying to interfere with his roll then, so why don't you go ahead and roll interfere, and that would take 2 off of Pyrite's roll, which was...
that's 11.
11. So you definitely interfere with the roll, which means...
But his roll was a 12.
Oh, was it?
So nothing happened.
Okay, well, in that case, your interfering is for naught.
It's fine. It was a symbolic interference anyway.
Yeah. here's what happens, Rex. Your sword, you dig your sword into the ground, think, no, I don't want to go, and then like the little bit of ground with your sword in it, like the whole thing gets
Comes
scooped
with.
out. So kind of load of dirt and your sword and you and the merchant is just kind of unceremoniously scooped out and deposited onto the deck of the boat, and you just end up sprawled there among kind of a little puddle of mud, basically, sort of unceremoniously dumped onto the deck. But hey, you're on the boat with your friends.
So
with your
now he's
loving
on the
friends.
boat.
Yeah, we're all on
So
the
now
boat.
he's on the boat. So I still have one hold to use.
If you want to deal 1d6 damage to him, or
No. I want to use the forceful tag so that I will throw him against the tiller, and then I will tell him with the mightiest voice I can, "Don't tamper with my power again."
I don't speak Dwarven, so
yeah. So here's what happens: the merchant lands on the deck. You land sprawled across the tiller, knocking it to the side. The boat was previously on a relatively even keel and was starting to turn. You knock the tiller, smashing it across to the right, and the entire boat turns into the wave and just lets you kind of go kind of abreast. So you're kind of, where before you were kind of riding the wave, where before you were riding it like that, right, with your nose pointing down, right? Now, not so much. Now you're more like that, if you like, if that makes sense, right? You're at a 90-degree angle to the direction of the water, which slows your approach, and the tidal wave kind of flies out, has you flying out, but where before you were going to be flying out at speed, now the tiller, you're now kind of knocked against the tiller, and the boat's sort of coasting to a gentle halt, just kind of idly coasting off down out of the river, out of the city gates. But it's okay, you're out of the city and you're coasting down the river and kind of bobbing away and pretty much bobbing out of there.
okay. Well, I'm gonna get out, or get up rather, and shout towards Bug. Hey, you tell the big pile of rocks I'm gonna reduce him to rubble if he does that again. Presumably Bug speaks Dwarven, otherwise we wouldn't have Pyrite with us. So
This is true.
It's not specifically written
But
down.
how's your Dwarven?
just it doesn't need to be written down if you
I do have a high intelligence, so I'm assuming I can communicate somewhat effectively with Pyrite.
Sure, but how's your Dwarven?
I'm assuming I picked up a little here and there, being in a big city. I don't think it's fluent, but enough to communicate with him.
Sure. Okay. That sounds fine by me. So you can do a little bit of general communicating, but the initial message might get lost.
Right?
the initial message, I don't know, it shouldn't be that hard to communicate. I look pretty
Yeah.
pissed off.
Agreed.
And I'm sort of waving my sword around and pointing at Pyrite.
So Pyrite,
Yeah.
what do you think?
I mean, I don't understand him much. Well, he doesn't understand me. I doesn't understand him. It's normal that we are kind of, constantly arguing, and it's all in the tone of the things. And so he looks at me angrily with his sword, and well, I could just, get rid of the sword with a pinch. But I'm looking at him, and I'm doing what is a smile for a crystalline like me, and so that means that some of the crystals in my face get lighter and brighter and shinier, and that's it. And then I just turn away and look if the boat is, riding the wave correctly, because, well, the thing with the tiller wasn't very smart from my part.
Okay.
And I feel a bit guilty about it.
So, as the chat is going on here, we're going to bring this to an end now. Fair enough. You kind of look over at Rex and do the Rockman equivalent of smiling sweetly.
I have no idea what that means, but yeah.
Whatever Rex takes it to mean, that was your original intention. Absolutely, Bastien.
It's doing face things at me.
Yeah. However Rex takes that, the merchant sort of dusts himself off and has sort of scrabbled to reach back to the tiller. He was on the far end of the boat, and while you two have been kind of altercating and kind of facing off against each other as much as possible, he's gone back to the tiller side. As you've kind of dusted yourself off, Rex, and started heading towards the front, he's been heading back towards the back. After all, he knows how to drive this thing, right? So he's want to correct you. And you two are facing off, you're chatting to each other, smiling at each other, smiling. And the merchant sort of turns around and goes, "Okay, guys, well, if you've quite finished discussing your whatever it is you're discussing, I think we might have another problem on our hands." And he points up at the city walls, sort of towering above you. And you see from the city walls a series of arrow-shaped, large triangular-shaped silhouettes plunging off of the top of the city itself, top of the city walls.
Eesh.
Bug, you know these guys to be basically paratroopers. They're the guys which are designed to float down and chase after whoever's getting out of the city. And
How many did you say?
I'd say there's about 3, but in the interests of finishing up, because we are past the end time, I want to leave things on a cliffhanger. So I'm going to leave it there. So
All right.
So it's sort of the to be continued notion of the two of you chatting out, and then Bug, the merchant's like, guys, and Bug, you look up and you see these 3 ominous arrows kind of swooping down towards you. To be continued.
All right.
Dot, dot.
Yeah,
All right,
fine.
and let's finish it.
All
there.
right. Excellent.
Cool. Okay then, guys, let's run through the end of session stuff, and then we'll just have a quick chat to see how everyone found that.
All right.
So, very quickly, end of session. End of session's always fun when it's a one-shot, because you're pretty much guaranteed you're going to hit all the marks. Because you're going to learn everything new and important about the world.
Well.
So, to be fair,
Okay,
you
so-
haven't looted a memorable treasure, but you're...
Yeah, we're really facing a memorable enemy.
Well,
We faced a couple of pitiful guards, you know, they're easily chopped down
Depends
in
how
one single
memorable-
blow, so...
well, you know, if you liked chopping down all those fishermen, you might think, no, I remember that. That's memorable. But yes, you're right. I mean, it wasn't super memorable, I admit. But we definitely learned something new and important about the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay, fair enough. We didn't really overcome any notable monsters this time. Treasure, not yet.
No.
Although, there's a boat.
Well, we haven't looted it yet, the merchant's
No,
still alive.
yet. I love how you kind of amend. It's like, we haven't looted it yet. So there's that. Right, alignments. Has everyone hit their
Yeah.
alignments this
I
session?
fulfilled mine.
Rex, you definitely have hit yours.
I murdered a couple of innocent fishermen, so... My conscience is clean.
Relatively speaking.
I think that I might also, it depends on your interpretation.
I would say you
of things,
definitely did,
but,
Bastien. I would say you definitely used your conduit to cause great disorder or chaos. One of the things we sort of learned about the world is that your conduit is something that people have not seen a lot of, because it's only really rockmen, it would seem, that can really channel this power. So the fact that you kind of parted the waters in a non-biblical sense was something which has caused a lot of chaos. Possibly not as much chaos as it might have caused, because, hey, no witnesses, but nonetheless, in that moment, it definitely caused a fair amount of chaos.
yeah.
And Bug, what was your alignment again? We were...
Neutral. It was like infiltrate.
Neutral, wasn't it? Yeah, that's right.
No, I didn't hit my alignment thing.
Avoid
was-
detection or inflict location. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't do that.
And we definitely did not avoid
Certainly
detection.
detected.
Yeah. Absolutely. So no alignment there, I'm afraid. Bonds. Who hit a bond? So you can hit 1 bond per session, and to hit a bond, that's effectively you saying it doesn't mean the thing definitely happened. It just means that it's something which either was kind of obvious by omission it didn't happen, or was something that you don't think is actually relevant after all. So if you feel like that happened with any of your bonds, then now's the time to say.
I don't know, I think mine's still relevant.
Okay.
So I don't think we hit anyone.
Okay, I think that my bond with Rex is still completely relevant, but I noted from Bug, I see the raw power, the raw potential in Bug, and I think that I've just seen the contrary. I've seen him in dire straits. I've had to help him, and so at the moment, I feel that Bug has no potential, and I think that he has to
Harsh.
show his worth.
Sure.
And so I would say I hate this relation.
Bug, what do you think?
Well, I don't have any element bending powers that can pick people up, but however, I did get us on a boat, smuggled you on and out of the city, and you would have just been still
To
in the
clarify, I'm not saying, as far as hitting bonds or not is concerned, I don't disagree with what you did, Bug. But I also don't disagree about what you're saying either, Pyrite. I think it's a fair count on both sides, and that's the sort of thing about bonds. If you can see the idea behind the bonds, I would say, is that if you can both agree that it's a valid point, that yes, it's something that happened, this is the sort of thing that happened, and yes, it's valid that your character would see it that way, that would count as hitting a bond. Now, like I say, I have an opinion, but it's not really up to me. It's up to you and Bug as to whether you would say that. So over to you guys.
Well, it's really, I don't have a bond with Pyrite, so I think it's
Neither
really
do
about how
I, yeah.
Pyrite really perceives it. And if it was my battle skills, then no, I wasn't very capable. This
Definitely,
time.
yeah. It's like if
I think that-
if this were multiple sessions, I think this would be a good ground for Pyrite to develop relationships with the rest of us.
Absolutely.
But as it stands, I think Bastien's initial assessment is probably correct.
And I think that Pyrite is something very earthly. He needs to see things. He needs to see facts, actions, and he hasn't seen any from Bud. He has just seen Bud being taken by the guard. He has seen an exchange of blow, which was not very powerful, and he had to come to his help and cut the guards in two, which is the power, the real power. And I'm still waiting for Bug to show that kind of power. But I think that the day I will see Bug backstab someone and kill him outright, then I will see a real potential.
So we're saying that Pyrite only respects power.
I think that's quite typical of Crystalline Channeler. Yeah, they only respect power, raw power.
Bug will be making note of that.
I love this idea of there being an exchange, the next time you make camp or whatever, of like, so why did Pyrite saying, I didn't see you attack anyone, what were you doing? Why didn't I see you making these attacks? And then Bug kind of going, but you were in a box. You were in a box for most of the time. How could you? But that's not important right now.
Next time Pyrite steps on a trap, I'll be like, after you.
Yeah.
I have a lot of fun with that trap. After all, you only respect power.
Love it. Okay.
Excellent. Yeah.
So cool. So in that case, done the end of session stuff, done alignments, done bonds. I think we are good to go. Anyone level up?
No.
I know.
I was too lucky.
Too lucky, yeah. Okay, good. In that case,
Excellent.
I think we are pretty much done today. Thanks, guys.
Cool.
That was
Thanks
was
for running
awesome.
that. That was
Oh,
fun.
my pleasure.
Yeah,
Nice meeting you.
And now you're all ready to start the quartz monolith. Yay!
Yeah, so much for that adventure.
Full disclosure for whoever the hell is still watching this at this point. As far as Dungeon World playtesting is concerned, it's pretty tricky, and that's fine. It's the important thing. If you take something away from this, if you're a Patreon follower and you're following this and thinking, why the hell should I follow Joe on Patreon when he's just done a whole adventure that he probably can't publish? Well, A, you're not entirely wrong, but what I would say is that I think this is a really good turn-off. This is a turning up point, which is where this is the sort of point where the adventures would come into their own. I like to kind of go the full Dungeon World route of saying, well, what's up with you guys? Where are you at? And obviously, because this is a one-off session, we aren't necessarily going to continue this, although we're in a great position to do so if we wanted to. But you can imagine how, everyone's on a boat. So my favorite adventure module, I'm on a boat definitely applies at this stage. So it's like the sort of adventures, although they are geared for first-time DMs, they aren't necessarily geared for first adventures, as you might have seen here. On the other hand, you might want to go for more of a cold open than I did today and say, okay, guys, you're all on a boat, you're headed here, but we'll come back to that in a second, and let's talk about our characters and bonds while you're on this boat. I could have done it that way, but this is just another way. Maybe in a future session we'll do it that way instead and kind of use that as a jumping off point instead. Anyway, in the meantime, that's me defending my little corner. How do you guys find it?
It was fun. Thanks for running it. Definitely enjoyed it.
I thought that, being my first game playing and just observing the DM, for some reason I thought it'd just be harder to do it. But it was just a nice little conversation with some moves thrown in, so it was nice.
I think that's, I've said it before, this is where Dungeon World really comes into its own. It is such a transparent system, and you're just talking, and then you might even realize after the fact, it's like, hang on a second, let me just rewind a second and let you make a roll for that. Because you know what? It might be really fun to see what happens if you roll and fail. Because worst case scenario, you're only going to get XP, right? So let's roll for it. And from your perspective as a player, you're thinking, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah,
I think
what's great
for that today. I failed twice, even in my backstabbing too.
What's great with Dungeon World is that when you fail, the story goes on, and it gets even more interesting when you fail. I really would have loved to fail one of my channeling,
absolutely,
and see what becomes of this raw power unleash.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
If there's anything which doesn't quite sit with the system, exactly as Bastian's saying, there's just a case of sometimes you can get in a situation where you're too good, where especially once you're say level 5 and you've got something that's got +3, you get the case of saying, okay, well I'm going to cast this spell now. Oh, well I got +3 intellect, so it's very hard for me to fail it. So here we go, it's cast.
Well, that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fine, and that gives you a good amount of power. And there's an element of the GM saying you don't want to always, I'm using the wizard as an example here, say, because the wizard's going to be casting spells. You don't always want to be throwing the wizard into situations where they can't cast spells, because that's unfair. But you do want to make sure you're giving everyone a wide range of scenarios where a wide range of skills are going to be needed. The thief will not always be the first one to fall into the trap, sometimes by their own omission, because hey, if like you've said, like you've seen here, Steve, it's like, well, I could do my trap expert skill, or I could hit my bond and let Pyrite go first. That you get these sorts of situations coming up where sometimes it's in your interest to fail, even if you've got your best stat. It's not about power gaming; it's about moving the story forward. So, yeah.
Well, yeah. I was the thief. I wanted to do my backstab. He was defenseless. It's the perfect time to hit that move. So just that wasn't in the bones.
And from my perspective as GM, it's like, well, of course he's going to be sprawled and defenseless. Is he defenseless? Yeah, of course he's defenseless. You've got a move called backstab. I'm going to help you with that. And like the fisherman, are the fishermen okay? Yeah, you could. It's not a matter of how well you can kill them. I'm not going to make you roll a hack and slash roll for each of those. What is this, D&D 5th? Hey-oh.
Which was just released.
I know, right?
The basic roll. Yeah.
So it's not a case of saying, yeah, make an attack roll against each of those fishermen, because of course it's a cool story, and in this part of the story is where the merciless fighter eviscerates the lot of them. So it's not a case of how whether he does that or not. It's a case of how quickly he does that, or what complications arise from him doing that. So there you go. Any other thoughts for next time? I sincerely hope, and I in fact anticipate this wouldn't be the last time I play and do a Patreon-style game. So any thoughts in terms of future as to how these Patreon games might be more useful? Any other DM tips you think might be useful for me to know, or just general?
No, nothing. I think in general for the Patreon stuff, you might be better off maybe trying to get a campaign together specifically.
Yeah.
From the amount of interest that you were getting on it, I think we've probably got enough people to like support a campaign and just make sure that we like meet once every other week or something.
Yeah,
rather than
hope so.
ad hoc organizing them, because you did have a bit of trouble getting enough people on any given night at that short notice.
Agreed. So having something with a more of a schedule in place would probably make more sense, wouldn't it? And I'd like to do something a fortnight. We'll see how that turns out. Yeah. Sorry, Bastien.
Could be useful to have something like a Google Calendar when we could, just write when we are free to play and when we can come and have a chat or that kind of thing. Because I mean, I've read a pair of the scenarios you've written, Joe. They are excellent, most of them. But sometimes I have some questions about what you write, and that could be fine to organize a hangout to talk about your stories with patrons and other people.
So that might be something worth doing in the very near future. Then actually, a Q&A session as well, above and beyond the ongoing stuff. Cool. I'll definitely bear that in mind, Bastien. That's really good to know. Thank you. And I think we saw before there is a very big Q&A button over here on the on-air Hangouts thing. So we may well be giving that a spin in the near future. Okay, that's good to know. Awesome. As far as the campaign stuff is concerned, Dungeon World lends itself pretty well to that anyway, as we talked about before. I think we talked about this before going on air. You can have characters of mixed levels quite happily. I've got a few ideas, actually. It's not the first time it's crossed my mind about having a campaign scenario where you might have different players, even playing different characters, and the idea of having them all mixing and matching. I've got a few thoughts on that. I think I might write those up and post those to the Patreon group or just onto Google Plus in general, and see what sort of feedback I get on that. But even before we do that, in an informal sense, I can carry on running semi-linked one-shots that might be in the same world or something like that, and we can always carry on characters from one point to the next. So that all sounds good with me. Cool. Okay then. Any other thoughts before we sign off for today?
Nope.
Excellent. All right then. In that case, I'm going to stop the broadcast now. Thanks everyone for watching, and hope to see you again soon.
Bye guys.
Bye.